the I'm a Fan of podcast. Music, comedy, and more.
Clinton Taylor, dude. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, you too.
We were just figuring out you were episode 3, which is part of the reason I wore the shirt with Arun Rama. And I'm trying to get Arun to start selling these shirts, so I hope people like them. Here in spirit, yeah. Hopefully you guys are still like friends, right?
Yeah, okay. No, I talk to him all the time.
Hopefully you didn't have a falling out.
No.
But yeah, man, back then you were doing stand-up comedy.
Well, yeah.
You decided to duck out of that.
A few times,
yeah. And then I saw you were doing your cooking channel now, and I was like, hell,
trying
yes.
to, yeah.
It's fun, man.
It's stressful. Sort of, yeah.
I feel like you're always stressed anyway, though.
I mean, I guess so, yeah.
What's the most stressful thing about it? Just putting on a presentation, you mean?
Well, they're not good yet. I don't think they're good yet.
Isn't that the charm of it?
Well, they're not. I'm not embarrassed of it. So I have like a...
Well, what's your version of good, though?
I don't know.
I don't think you know what this is yet.
It's also something, I mean, you edit stuff. It's something you're watching all the time.
Yeah.
After you rewind. And I'm learning how to edit.
See, that's probably why you're stressing about it more.
Yeah.
Because I got it to where I don't edit this period. I've had a couple guests where they're like, hey, can we pull stuff out? And I used to do that. Mm-hmm. But then I just got tired. I was like, if you are really worried about what you said, let's just not put it out there, period.
Yeah,
don't worry about it, Because most of the time it's not going to be as big of an issue as they think it's going to be. It's nothing. There was only one time where someone, Lawrence Rosales, he had mentioned someone who helped him get from Texas to another state by using like their company and all this. And he was like, hey, pull their name out. And I was like, okay, that's legitimate. Somebody could get fired about that. Yeah. But other than that, it's like, no, nothing you say on here is really going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So I don't edit it, which means I don't have to watch myself constantly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like making a clip or something, but I've also just accepted, my flaws now. It's like, I think at some point you just go, that's me. It is what it is.
I feel like I've gotten over, there's a few times I've made a few faces. I'm like, is that really what I look like? Or there's a, like it feels weird to say that. I just put out the second one today.
Yeah, I watched it today.
And thank you so much. But it's a lot of, because there's, my buddy John of Coldplay 2, that's who's helping me. If it wasn't for him, I couldn't do it. He showed me how to edit it and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And but all the zoom ins, all the little things that you have to do, it's so, because you can rewatch it and you're like, well, I can change that now. Mm-hmm. Now it has to look like this, and now that the end looks like this, I have to go back and change this.
Yeah.
And at some point, I have to be like, all right, I got to stop doing this.
Yeah, but you're only 2 full videos in.
Yeah, complete ones. I have about 8 of them recorded.
Well, and I know you've got all the clips that you've been working on too.
Yeah.
All that stuff just gets easier.
Yeah, it just gets
easier.
It's going.
Yeah, and I think you start to figure out exactly what you like.
Yeah.
You figure out how you like it to flow, and then it just gets easy,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun to learn how to edit, because it's like a skill I have now, which I couldn't do any of that before this.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like the overarching theme of these first 2 that you've done, which I am all about, is like you keep talking about like just do shit. Yeah. Time's ticking. Just fucking figure it out. So it's like if you end up finding out you're horrible at editing and all of it's terrible, it's like, well, whatever. Okay, I'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But as you see now, it's like you're not. It works fine.
I don't think it's bad. I'm not.
Yeah.
My goal was to not be embarrassed of what I put out.
I don't think you are.
I'm not. No. Okay. And I'm not. I'm sure I'm not the proudest. I mean, I am proud of it. It's literally the hardest thing I've ever worked on in my life, and that's kind of sad to say because I'm 36. Is
it hard just because you care?
Yeah.
Is that why it's hard?
Well, and I want it to be good.
Yeah.
And I also want it to be good, but it's the hardest I've ever. I've DM'd people, or I've talked to people who have talked to me about it, and I'm like, y'all don't know how hard this is. Now I understand why people who edit are so angry all the time.
Because I worked on Lawrence's comedy special.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be recording another one in December, and it's like I'm trying to record more of those. I want to get into that. But people, just like you said, like if you haven't done it, they kind of have this real, it's a limited understanding, but they think it's easy to just kind of like, hey, in 2 weeks I wanted to record this thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, I'm sorry, that's just not enough time to set that up.
Dude,
like maybe if I was like a big production house or something, it's like, but getting cameras, getting people to run this stuff, just literally setting up the equipment now. Like, do you get to leave your setup where you're at, or do you have to set it up every time?
Well, it's at my buddy John's house because his kitchen is but they're moving. So it's going to be at a new place at some point.
So they were just leaving the setup there?
Yeah, because it's just...
So, that helps, because otherwise it would be an hour and a half every time.
Well, it's also only 2 cameras. Mm-hmm. And then me.
Yeah.
So that's a little easier. And then he, sets up all the lights and stuff.
But even that, it's the little things of like, the processing power of your computer.
Yeah.
And how long it takes for things to just render. And you just like, you do this stuff and then you just got to wait.
There's also been times, do you ever have your computer crash on you? And then you have to, like, I use Adobe.
Uh-huh.
I forget to save it sometimes. And sometimes it doesn't autosave.
Yeah.
I have to, today, I got up early today to put this out.
Mm-hmm.
It crashed when I was trying to make the thumbnail, and I had to restart the whole thing.
It's always something. Well, do you remember when you and Arun did episode 3? It's actually episode 4 because we recorded the whole first one.
Yeah.
And Nathan,
I forgot
when he
about
was
that.
doing the show with me, his computer had something happen, and a drink was spilled, so he freaked out and lifted up his laptop, and I think that disconnected the hard drive or something.
Yeah.
Crashed the
I
whole thing,
forgot
lost
about
it
that.
all.
I remember being happy, though, because I feel like the second one, I remember being more happy the second one was out.
I don't know that, episode 3, I'm in like the 140s at this point. So,
oh, wow, that's impressive.
So, just everything has improved a little bit just from repetition,
Well, your setup is nice, too.
Thanks,
I've
man.
seen some of the videos.
This place has been real good to me. I like this
Well,
spot.
actually, the episode 2 is episode 3. The first one was so bad. I'm like, this isn't seeing the light of day. It was so bad. I wasn't talking. And
Yeah.
the whole idea of the thing, I've recently got into like, I don't know, not recently, when I was like 30, I'm 36 now, like meditation, figuring out why I'm the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm doing what I'm doing, people call in and they talk about why they can't make a house payment or what. They don't know what escrow is. And I'm kind of lying too when I talk about it because I just kind of vaguely understand it. But I've heard some of the worst stories, like kids dying.
Mm-hmm.
So people are paying for funerals so they can't pay their house payment. Or,
Right.
Shit like that.
Oof.
One, there is no God with that shit going on, in my opinion. But, I don't know. But people tell me what's going on in their lives. And a lot of the times they're like, hey, thanks for listening to me, whine on the phone or cry. And it genuinely, I'm like, oh, man, I'm enjoying this part of this job. Not hearing the stories, but like I'm hearing the people pour their lives out to me. And I'm like, I'm going to turn that into something.
You're enjoying that they're getting a little bit of relief.
Yeah.
This little tiny bit of a phone conversation is somehow helping them.
So many stories are sticking out in my head, but even the ones that, I had a guy yelling at me today. Thank you for doing this so late, by the way. I forgot to tell you that.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
But I wanted to turn that into something. I was like, how can I make a therapy podcast or a therapy something? And I was standing in my shower one day. I'm like, oh my God, I could, because I like cooking, just whatever. And I've been cooking pretty much like a single guy for 20-something years. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's always random things that I'm just randomly thinking about. I'm like, I could video this and just rant and somehow get people to call in. So that's the whole idea of the thing. But no one's called in yet.
Well, it's still newer. They don't know. You can't have them call in on episode 2. They are just now watching episode 1.
I've had some friends say, hey, I could call in and like, but I was like, let me get in a groove first before I really fuck this up.
Yeah. No, I love the approach of it, right? That like you're not approaching it from the idea of like we need to make this a perfect polish cooking show. It's that, this is how I'm going to cook in my place,
Yeah.
And just the little details of like we're not doing exact amounts. It's about this amount, about
I'm
that
not
amount.
I'm not that good of a cook either.
But nobody is. And we all just want to try some stuff.
People are better than me.
You have, it's like, I've got a buddy, John. He's that guy who's going to spend a lot of time, like, if he's going to prepare a dish, he probably looked it up like 2 weeks in advance and went shopping and was excited about it. But he's one of those people who likes to be the, I don't know what you call this type of person. Like we went and floated the river one time with like a bunch of couples went, and he's the guy who like wants to wake up and cook breakfast for the house.
I'll do that. I got that feeling in me.
But so he's that way, and so I feel like because he's that way, he's picked up those cooking skills just over the last couple decades, of doing that. But but no, I think the average person, like, you'll talk about how like I don't really know like what you call this meal, or like the presentation's not going to be a specific way. It's a meal I like to eat.
Yeah,
and
I'm just trying not to be honestly, I don't want to be the fat guy in my high school class.
Well, you said your goal was you want abs this year,
yeah,
right?
at some point.
That's a good goal.
I'm trying to get there. I'm kind of.
You're already in pretty decent shape. How hard do you think it's going to be?
It's going to be. I still have like bitch hips. Yeah, is what I don't know what to call.
It's that last bit, man.
Dude.
Right?
And all this. it's kind of an excuse, but all this editing, it's so hard to come home from work because of what I do, because I'm just on the phone all day, and then I go and I look at my computer at home, and I'm like, God, I don't want to go to the gym. So I do fast more, but I feel like I look like I just don't eat bread, really. I mean, I don't for the most part, but I generally feel like that's all I look like right now.
You know, I've been real fortunate, man. I've never had like an office job. I've always had a job where I'm mobile.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't talk about my job on here, but I work in a, I work in a setting where I walk a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I get to, and even if I have downtime, it's like I'm in a giant building where I can just go walk hallways.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
so like,
nice, yeah.
like today I didn't get to work out or anything, and I'm sitting at like 11,000 steps.
Wow.
You know,
that's crazy.
Yeah. And my goal, like, you know, when I'm running or something, it's like I'm trying to get to like 15, 20,000 steps. But I'm on the flip side of, my problem is not that I'm not exercising, right? I'm exercising, I'll run, I'll lift weights, I'm active, you know. It's like we are renovating our home, I'm doing all that. It's like I'm lifting lumber and doing these. I'm always active, but I'm just like a child with my diet still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No discipline. And it's like I'll tell myself like, okay, this week we're not going to do, you know, sugar.
Yeah.
And it's like inevitably like lunch rolls around. It's like, I'll get that chocolate chip cookie or something.
No,
you know what I
it.
mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
it's just constant. And, you know, I know exactly what you're supposed to do. You know, I know it.
Yeah.
I've heard it all. It's like I
Yeah.
listen to David Goggins call me a bitch about it.
Dude.
But like,
Yeah.
you know, it's still, and even as you're paying for it, like I had one moment of progress where the place I work at, it's all centered around health. And it's so hilarious because they'll have these like 6 cash registers down in the cafeteria in the building. And there will be 6 tables, you know, 2 in front of each, or a table in front of each register. And they'll be selling like chocolate cake. And it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like the one moment of progress I had was like I bought a piece of cake going like, this is going to be delicious for lunch, you know, like with my meal. Mm-hmm. And then as I was looking at it in the elevator, there was somebody with me and I was like, they were like, oh, that cake looks good. And I was like, you should just take it. Like,
Dude,
I really shouldn't be
get
eating
that.
it.
Yeah.
And I feel like now it's like, am I going to have to start buying pieces of cake and getting rid of them just so I have the feeling of like, oh, I purchased it.
That's not a bad move.
And then, you know, for a couple weeks, just donate cake to people.
But then you're giving somebody else that problem.
You know, that's their own battle, right?
That's true, yeah.
Well, I mean, you've been sober for a while, right?
7 years or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever have that moment where you wanted to just like buy the beer, but then you like threw it away or something?
No.
Or were you able to just cut it off?
Sometimes someone asked, I was hanging out with somebody the other day, and she was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, do you not ever want to, like, just, you know, drink? Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
What are they called? What are those, like, annoying hipster beers called? IPAs?
Oh, yeah.
Those always look good to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not enough to be like, I'm going to start doing this again. I always felt like shit. I was not a good drunk.
Yeah.
I was not a good drunk at all.
Well, that's what I'm feeling now in my life. It's like, yeah, I do want to lose weight and look better, but you know, it's like when you eat like a pizza and a pint of ice cream, it's like the whole next day I'm miserable.
Yeah.
And alcohol is becoming that way now, where it's like I can go, you know, I'm still going to watch these comedy shows, so 2-item minimum, and it's like, well, I don't feel like doing water. I'll get 2 beers. What's 2 beers, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll drink water before I go home, and it's like you wake up and you're like, why the fuck am I bloated now?
Yes.
And it's just your age and your metabolism just crash you so hard, but
it's poison you're putting in your body.
I know.
And I'm not judging. I mean, but it's like that's what got me on Topo Chico. That's why I started drinking so much Topo Chico.
Well, and like I'm so busy now that now I feel it. It's like even just like mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
If I had 2 beers last night, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
2 beers really are affecting like how I feel on a hot like
and it
June
makes you
day.
sweat worse too. I feel like
Yeah, definitely.
I for sure feel better after now, especially after people start talking about it. I'm like, oh, I do feel better than I did when I drink.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're young and you can bounce back, that's probably your best time to do
I
it
miss
all.
that.
Yeah.
I do miss that, hanging out with my friends just getting shit-faced.
Yeah.
I genuinely do miss that.
I was fortunate, man. I never had any real problems, you know, and like drink. That's what blows my mind is like I could stop drinking. I don't even drink a lot now. Like I could stop drinking for the rest of my life today. It wouldn't bug me. But that sugar, something about that food, man, it's just got a hold on me even stronger than
Sugar
that.
was hard, but now that because I don't really eat it.
Mm-hmm.
But I eat things like I eat dates and figs all the time.
Yeah.
And I genuinely enjoy the taste of them. And I think it's because my palate has changed to old people food, I guess, or whatever it is. But I genuinely enjoy the way those things taste.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are like your what are your motivations for this other than just fitness? Like, are you trying to become a very good, like you want to be a good chef?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I don't care about that. I dropped out of culinary school.
Oh, I forgot you went to culinary school.
Yeah, I lied to everybody, and I say that I graduated, but I didn't. No, I don't know. I to do something. I don't want a real job.
Why did you lie and tell everyone you graduated?
To get jobs.
Yeah.
To get jobs, yeah.
But you were getting cooking jobs? Lying? What do you mean?
No. Oh, no, Jesus.
Well, someone might, so be careful.
Yeah,
I told you I
know.
don't want to edit anything.
I graduated. I'm joking, but it's
Yeah.
it looks better on a resume.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, but
the school's closed.
the thing is unless that is specific to what you're doing now, no one really cares.
No, I know. No, I mean probably not,
resumes, unless it's a trade of some
I'll
kind.
tell you
or,
off camera why
yeah.
I lie about it.
But resumes, unless it's a specific trade, like I can't go in and be like, I've been a master electrician for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to kill people.
Well, yeah,
but but
there's a particular thing that gets me into an interview.
Ah,
Yeah.
I got you. We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, I'll
But,
say off camera. I'll talk about killing somebody, but I'll say that off camera. Yeah. But the school shut down, so I don't even know the $30,000 that it cost me to go there anymore. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? You can put work into something, just shut down. It's done. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it was. I mean, I dropped out before it shut down, but
still.
I got a letter saying, I sent in $1,700 too, which pisses me off. I generally think they owe me that money back.
Yeah.
Because if I would have never paid any of it,
well, you're going to get me on my whole soapbox about education should be, so much more affordable, if not free.
I agree.
All that kind of stuff, But I just like,
you don't even need it now with YouTube. I mean, I can't cook, but I taught myself all that bullshit I know.
man, I don't know how to do all this construction work that we do on our home. And if it's something that'll burn my house down, that's when I get a professional involved.
Yeah, well, that's smart.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
other than that, it's like, I'm not going to pay someone thousands of dollars to come do something. And then because it's not like a big job, they're going to send their worst person.
Yeah.
I'm going to be overcharged for crap work.
And you won't know either.
Yeah. We'll look at it and wish it was done better. And that's why I told my wife, I was like, at least if I do it and we wished it looked better, we saved thousands of dollars.
Well, like fixing like sheetrock stuff is kind of easy.
That's what I'm doing right now. So
Yeah.
we
Well, not easy. I could do it eventually.
Yeah.
I really worked on it.
So what we're doing right now is, everybody wanted like an open concept. So the kitchen
Yeah.
was open to the dining room, and
That's cool.
we're having another kid, so we're walling it back up. So we tore down a wall when we
Can I
bought the
have two?
home. This will be our second one.
Okay.
And so we tore down a wall, 5-6 years ago just to build it back, which is always
Really?
fun. Yeah, for real. Yeah. When we
That's
bought the
hilarious.
house, we tore the wall down, open concept, blah, blah, blah. And now we're like, well, we don't want to move or anything. We'll just change this back into a bedroom.
Ah.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so, we built the wall ourselves, and I've never done like sheetrock and drywall. So it's like I'm doing that now. So I'm like doing the mud and the tape. And it's like, I
like it?
No, not really.
Really?
I mean, I would like it probably on my, like I'm doing this side of the wall. Mm-hmm. When I do the next side of the wall, I might like it better because
You got something to look forward to.
yeah. But right now I'm just figuring it all out. Right now I'm at that point where you start it and you're like, damn it, I fucked it up.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Shit,
that's how I am with it too. Yeah. I'm not
and
great at
so
it.
when you finish it, I feel accomplished, even
Yeah.
if it's a little rough around the
Sure.
edges. And I know, like, okay, we saved some real money here.
Yeah.
And then what it is for me too is the time. I don't want to be here on a Tuesday at noon to
Yeah.
get your bid and
Yeah,
have you
yeah,
look.
yeah.
It's like I can just go on a Home Depot run, mess some things up, figure it out.
Yeah, and supplies are so expensive now; it's insane. But I really enjoy things like mowing and
Yeah.
things like that. I really enjoy.
I like
things
that
like
stuff.
Being paid for it, because when I worked for the city, that's
Yeah.
what I used to do, and it's annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of relaxing, but being paid for something and someone expecting it to look a certain way gives me anxiety I don't want to deal with. So if someone's like mow my grass and have at it, I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Well, yeah. I mean, weren't you talking about that in one of the videos? How if you're cooking a meal by yourself, it's kind of therapeutic. You like it, but if you're cooking for people, now you're stressed.
Yeah. No, well, if it's like my brothers, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But if it's, I mean, not, you know what I mean? But like, if it's, what am I trying to say? Like if it's a family I'm trying to impress.
Yeah.
Like this particular one was a girl I was talking to at the time, and twice it happened. One time was potato soup, and another time was burgers. And that's such an easy thing to make. I fucked it all. Both times I fucked them up. And both of the times they pretended like it didn't taste like shit, and it did.
And you're just watching them take those bites where they're like, it's good.
Yeah, and I'm like, I know this isn't good. This is not good. Yeah.
You seem like the type of person to just tell them, like, you don't have to lie to me. I know it's bad.
Yeah.
Were you doing that? And they were
yeah.
like, no, it's great.
Yeah. Well, the girl was like, yeah, this sucks. And I mean,
did you finish the meal or did you just order something?
No, I ate it. I still ate. I mean, I generally try to make things for me that I can just. I'm not trying to make it the best tasting thing ever. I'm just trying to get full and eat decent. That's all I'm trying to do.
What my wife can't comprehend is that I don't need to eat any variety of meals ever. I was like, when I was most rigid with my diet was when I didn't think about it, period. So it was literally just like just a mixture of, rice, veggies, and like eggs or chicken or something.
That's literally what I eat all the time.
Yeah, and it was just like, I'll eat this 2 meals a day.
Yeah.
I don't care. Let's, meal plan, all that stuff. But, she doesn't want to do that. And so then it's not like it's her fault. It's still my fault. But if I can get in that habit of where like, I don't even think about this, then I don't really crave a lot of food. But when you have like a wife and kid, they don't want to eat that every day.
Yeah, that's probably why I eat that way, because I don't have any of that. So
you act like you'll never have it, by the way.
I don't think I will. Yeah.
Why not?
I don't think it's in the I don't know. It's like I'm 36 already.
So
there's been times, dude. I was telling somebody this the other day. I have a problem like what is it called? I want to run from things. When someone called me her person within 3 weeks of talking to her, and I was like, I got to get away from this person.
That bugs you.
Yeah. I never know. I don't know if it's me or if it's other people I'm judging too hard. Some people, I'm like, when do you start saying babe? When do you start saying I love you? When is it okay to move into, I don't know.
Do you think you'd be better with a more distant person?
Yeah, I am. I am.
Okay.
I 100% am.
So we're just finding criteria here.
But when I say distant, I mean, you could live in another country distant, and I'll see you twice a year. Like I can't handle.
Have you ever heard of anybody else in a relationship like that? Like, is that?
I don't care what they're doing when I'm not around.
Okay. What about living with them though?
I've never really done that.
Okay. Well, maybe you're just building it up.
Have you
had roommates though?
Yeah.
Okay. That was all right.
Yeah, but I'm not. There's no expectation there except do the dishes and pay the bills.
Sure.
There's no. You have to have sex with this person. You got to talk about their feelings. And look, and I mean, same with me. I'm sure they're thinking the same thing. But it's I don't want something I have to care about. I don't want a worry that I don't have to carry about.
Here's why I think you should be optimistic, because you're going like, I'm getting older, so that's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But the woman that's out there that feels the same way as you, every year she's getting, like it's like you two are getting closer and closer, because eventually you're going to be the single people left, and you'd be like, oh, this is who I've been looking for.
Could be true,
the distant person who also didn't want to do these things. And then you just have a nice, you don't even get married. You just date for 30 years or something.
I mean, that would be ideal.
And it's like after dating for 10 years, you're like, I guess we move in because it makes financial sense, right?
Yeah.
I
mean, I have thought about that, but I'm also not looking for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you don't want it, then it doesn't matter.
It's not even
right?
that. I don't even know, how to explain it. I feel like people put so much pressure on it. I feel like women do more often, and I don't want to paint that broad brush. But
well, I would say women, if you're going to date someone around your age,
yeah, they want
right
kids.
Now they're definitely going to be thinking about it, because that biological clock's hitting
Yeah.
them, and it's just, even if they normally wouldn't think about it, it's like the hormones are throwing them into thinking about it. Like biology is literally wanting them to have babies, whether they want them or not. And but there's also a ton of women who are in your age bracket who are like, I never want kids.
Yeah, and I know,
not a
I know
thing,
some
period.
of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I have family members who they have zero desire for children, and it never wavered.
I feel like I'll be the. This is like memes and stuff, but I feel like I'll just be a cool uncle forever.
Yeah, that's fine too.
Yeah, and it's not. Everyone gets horny, but I'm not like.
Yeah, but we're gonna have sex robots soon.
Yeah,
so, that's
the internet says less than 3 years, and they're pretty dead on about it.
Pretty dead on.
Yeah.
No,
At some point, they'll
that.
look like us. Is what? No, not me, but like
I was going to say. I
I
hope they don't look like me.
Look, somebody is in. Look, this is another thing that helps me. When you record, you get self-conscious about oh fuck, is that what it is? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I used to, not anymore.
Yeah.
Now I just accept who I am. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be embarrassed. I'm gonna say stupid things.
Yes.
It's all fine.
But somebody, I don't even know how to say this. I have a problem too trying to explain my thoughts because I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, I will say that while you're thinking about this, what I thought was interesting about the cooking stuff is that might be the most focused and clear. Like, you seem to ramble a little sometimes, but
all the time.
Yeah, but you're usually very excited, and that's maybe the most clear train of thought I've ever seen you have is when you're actually cooking, because you're focused on this task. I think so. You're not overthinking it because this other thing is taking up your time.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas here we're like, okay, talk.
Well, that was more or less what really I thought. I was in the shower and I thought, oh fuck, that would work. Mm-hmm. That because I'll have something to do, and I knew my buddy John would be there, and he really helps to keep me on track. But yeah, I get all over the place, and I don't know. I mean, everyone says ADD or ADHD, whatever it is, but I've got to have some form of that.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm trying to remember what I was trying to tell you.
We were just talking about women, life, and whether or not you even want to get a long-term relationship at this point in your life. Just talking about those things, And we were mentioning sex robots. And,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
Somebody will be into what you are. 100%. And a lot of people won't. Most people, I had a guy in high school tell me, I almost want to say his name.
Please don't.
It was Sean. I mean, there's so many Seans. But he told me I would die a virgin. I believe that forever. And then when you get older, and because I didn't lose my virginity until I was 19 or something like that.
Okay.
But then as you get older, you're like, oh, people do want to fuck me.
But now, at your age, it's like, do you really think 19 is like a late age to lose your virginity?
At the time, I did.
When you're young, you feel like, oh, that's weird. But really, like as an adult, you're like, that's probably like a better time. It's like, yeah, as a dude, you want it sooner.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know.
It wasn't for the sake of not trying, though.
Sure.
No one just wanted to.
But what I mean is, like, if you're 35, no one would be like now no one would even care that it was 19.
Yeah.
Only like a teenage high school kid would think about that.
Yeah. But also everyone that most of my friends who had sex before that all have kids now.
Right.
And are divorced or remarried or divorced again.
Well, dude, I came from a small town, so it's like by 25, they're all married with children, and then I had a good friend, a good childhood friend, like reach out to me. I hadn't talked to him in like 15 years. He got like a number from somebody and called me. And I like him. He's fantastic. Sure. He's a great dude. Like, he's a good enough childhood friend that if that call was to say like, dude, my car broke down in Oklahoma and I got nobody else, it's like, dude, I'll come get you.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was like the small town. He got married young. I think they had like 3 or 4 kids. Whatever happened to the relationship, he didn't get into it, but it's like now they're divorced.
Yeah,
totally separate.
Knew that's where this was
and you
going.
know where it's going. And it's like, it's that small town stuff where my wife and I, we got married older, and so I feel like we got.
You're all from the same area.
Yeah, well, close enough. Like we were about 40 minutes apart. We had like a mutual friend.
In a small town, 40 minutes is pretty far.
Big deal, yeah. And we dated in high school, and then we were kind of off and on, and then we got back together later and got married. So I think what was good for us, right? Because had we gotten married like everybody else was right after high school, that would have been a divorce.
It wouldn't have lasted.
Wouldn't have lasted. We didn't have the emotional maturity. We didn't have any of our pieces of our life together,
Yeah.
And then I think more importantly, it's like we had our phase of like going crazy in your 20s, getting it out of your system, dating people, figuring out like, I thought I wanted that, but I don't want that.
I have that thought all the time. I think about that all the time. The things I used to. I ran into somebody recently. See, this is me going on these tangents.
Go on them, man. We got time.
Have you ran into anybody? How big was your town? And I know I've asked you this before.
So I was in a town called Copeville.
Okay.
This high school I went to was comprised of like 5 little small towns.
Okay.
And it was called Community ISD, Community High School. And at the time in 2003, we had the largest graduating class ever of 84 people.
Wow, that's okay.
Small town. So like
that's smaller than what I went.
Like literally, we I told you we're renovating this kitchen.
Yeah.
I pulled out a countertop from an island, but it's like I don't want to throw that away. This is stone. This is good.
Yeah.
So I just $100. Whoever wants this, just please don't let me put it in a landfill. You know. And the people that came to pick it up, I was like, "Where'd you guys drive from?" Because they said they were coming pretty far, and they're like, "Oh, nobody knows where it is." And they were like, well, you know, what's up kind of north? And they started talking about like Princeton and those areas. Like, yeah, that's where I grew up.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, nobody knows where that is. So it's one of those towns where if you meet somebody that knows that little town, you're like, oh my God, I feel like we know each other now.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm from Fairfield is where I went to high school.
Okay.
Anytime anyone says a town from there, I'm like, how do you know where that is?
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked because it's between here and Houston, really. It's the halfway. But yeah, I'm always shocked. But there is a vibe. I hate saying vibe, but there's a vibe to small town people.
100%.
And have you ever met someone that got away when they were older, and you're like, oh fuck, you're different.
Yeah.
You're not the same small town person anymore.
Yeah, I think about it because it's like even some of my family lives
in a
out
good
there.
way, different.
I think it depends on the purpose, the person, because, you know, like my town was small, but it wasn't like everybody was like a good old country boy who does everything the right way, you know?
Yeah.
We had a lot of...
like country bumpkins and shit like that.
We also lived next to Lake Levon, and so...
my dad's ashes are thrown in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well...
I think. I wasn't a fan of him.
Well, they... one of this little areas in the county that we lived in actually technically wasn't even part of Copeville. It was just unincorporated county. Mm-hmm. So rock roads it's these people would move out to the country just to have their houses right next door to each other.
Yeah.
Which is always crazy.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of, you know, lake trash, drug addicts, people who got, you know, one of our neighbors had the door kicked off of his hinges in Garland by police because of his drug issues. And so he moved out here because, you know, it's the county, so there's just a sheriff. Yeah. You have to be doing something really wrong for the police to come out, you know?
I always wonder how people get to
business.
Those towns.
I need to ask my dad how he went out there because he was the one that convinced my dad's from Garland, my mom's from Dallas. Mm-hmm. So I think the story was my dad just kind of likes fishing and he likes a pretty simple life, you know? And I think
I kind of get that.
I think that was his way. I'm living on the lake. We can go fishing. I don't think he saw the ancillary stuff that was annoying.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I don't think he really sees it or it really bothers him. He's just kind of chill about it. Whereas I'm that person where I don't really want an HOA.
Yeah.
But I like that level of scrutiny just below the HOA.
I get it.
You know, I like a nice neighborhood with neighbors that keep to themselves, but keep their stuff together.
I don't even need to know their name.
Yeah, but I want you to just, you know, please, like, when you grow up next to the homes where people's front yards are just filled with car parts and shit.
I used to live in a house like that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to live like that. And there, out where I was, a lot of that was really just poverty. It's not like you had a lot of poor people who kept their shit really nice though too. Yeah. But we were just in an area where a lot of it was more of the people who didn't care about their homes, you know?
Yeah, I have friends like that still.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally one of my great childhood friends who's just a great friend growing up, we go to drop him off one day and his home was being raided in his dad's master bathroom. He had modified a vent hood in the bathroom and was cooking meth.
Really?
Yeah, really.
All small towns have some meth lab somewhere in there.
You know, you're bored and you know, we're having field parties and I never did meth ever, but I've never done any hard drugs and
I haven't either. I mean,
but no, it's like, but we would get a case of beer and go stand in a field with other people drinking with somebody's truck.
That's exactly what we did. And sometimes there's a fire going on.
Yeah, bonfires,
and a fight,
And they were great, but it's that boredom. It's like if you're the type of person who wants to party harder and you're bored, meth is going to be pretty great, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple people's faces popping in my head who used to. I mean, they might still. I don't know what they do, but yeah.
I mean, do you think you're better off for growing up, or do you wish growing up in that area, or do you wish you had a different childhood experience? Because I think a lot about, I wonder if I would be different for the better or worse if I wasn't raised in this small town. Because I feel like now we have this city experience combined with this small town experience. So I like to think I have this well-rounded thing.
Yeah.
But also, you know, nobody knew how to talk to me about college education or anything.
Yeah.
I figured that out in like my late teens, early 20s on my own. And, you know, you wonder, it's like, man, if somebody had been talking to me about this stuff when I was 14, I wonder if I would have achieved more. Or if it's like, no, you're achieving what you're supposed to achieve right now.
Yeah,
you know?
I do. I mean, I was literally just talking about, because I kind of grew up without parents. They were around, and they're both passed now. But
well, your mom was the main figure, right?
Yeah, about the last 10, 15 years of her life, she was.
Okay.
But I was at my sister's house. My sister and brother-in-law, for the most part, for how old was I? 13. I don't remember how old I was. But but so I feel like how do I say this so I sound like an asshole? No one ever, like teachers, I remember teachers trying to tell me, hey, what are you going to do after this? And I'm like, I don't fucking care. And no one was like, hey, listen to that person.
Yeah.
Listen to what that person is saying. So I don't know. I do like that I've moved away from that small town. And then, I mean, I haven't been back in so long. But the people that I do keep in touch with, I'm like, yeah, if y'all could just get to the city for a week and just... Black people aren't bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. I mean, I have...
There's hookers in Dallas, but like it'll help you grow if you see that. I really believe that.
That is something I have noticed is the amount of things like that I'm just used to. You know, it's like if I go walk through Deep Elm and there's a crazy homeless person shouting something, I clock that it's there, but it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
You know, whereas when I was in that small town, the thought of seeing a homeless person was like,
oh, dude, I remember when I moved to Dallas and I started going to like Mike's and Deep Elm. It was so foreign to me. It was not even. It was a whole different world. I mean, it was. I remember the first. I still have the T-shirt. It was. She doesn't do comedy anymore, but I can't remember the bar. But walking toward, you had to walk through the bar. Like
was it that back patio? You
would
do the open mic on the back patio?
It's all painted, funky colors.
Yeah, because I can't remember the girl who ran it, but
Hannah was her name.
Was it Hannah Vaughn?
No. O'Brien.
That's right. It was Hannah O'Brien.
I don't remember the bar's name though.
I do. It was it the Armory?
That's it.
Yeah. Because that is one of those that's seared in my mind. I believe that's where. Do you remember David Jessup?
Yeah,
comedian David Jessup. He I guess he just insisted on wearing like a black shirt or something happened to his shirt. He was like sweating through it, I think, because the mic was so hot because it was out back in that. And remember, it was like metal walls.
Yeah.
So if you're there in the summer, it's like burning up. And I think he went across the street to Trees and bought a T-shirt from the band that was playing that night.
Yeah.
And the band happened to be a band called Mannequin Pussy.
Really?
Yeah. So he had this. He was doing this bit about, you know, mannequin pussy on his T-shirt, which now the band is more successful.
I've got to look that up now.
It's a very successful rock band.
Is it chicks?
Honestly, I don't listen to them. I think it's a female lead singer, and then the band's probably a mixture.
Okay, I think I've heard of them now.
It's definitely more of like like an empowered rock and roll woman vibe up front.
I thought so.
Yeah, but I remember listening to the songs thinking like, yeah, this rocks. Like if I was at a show, I'd have a good time. But it wasn't something I'm going to be listening to in my car.
Shitty live music that I would never listen to. Like I would probably watch a few Taylor Swift songs live. But on the radio,
if you're going to give me a concert ticket, I'll check it out. Dude, I won concert tickets for the Killers once, which they're fine.
Yeah.
They're okay.
Yeah.
It's not one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
Loved the concert.
Yeah.
It was great. I won tickets off a radio show. Never
I would have done it too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Creed was the best show I've ever seen in my life live.
I would watch Creed today, hands down.
The other two, Finger 11 was good, and then Three Doors Down was there too, which I think he's about to die from cancer. I hope he doesn't, but he has like stage 4 cancer.
The lead singer?
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Three Doors Down, they somehow managed to not get into that zone where people made fun of them, even though they were playing similar music to like Nickelback and Creed.
If you see the crowd, dude, Nickelback is good. I don't know why people pretend
we just talked about this on another episode of like they get shit on and it's not justified. It's they know exactly what they are.
There's so many worse bands out there than Nickelback. And that guy seems cool. Chad Kroeger, I think his name is.
Yeah, they're very cool.
Yeah.
When you see them now, it's like, oh, y'all have been cool this whole time.
Yeah.
But Three Doors Down was playing the same music, but somehow we didn't shit on them.
Three Doors Down
They're great.
is the church Nickelback to me.
Are they a Christian band?
Every break in their songs, they would talk about God. And I'm like,
I did not know that.
And the guitarist had a shirt on that said, fuck your pronouns, which, those blue-haired people are annoying to me too. But you're praising God up there, and your shirt is telling, you know what I mean?
Well, talking about small towns, I think that's why I like that I grew up in the town I grew up in because there's a lot of, these towns are so small, right?
Yeah.
Literally, it's like I took my wife out there one time, and it was like, there's a church, there's a church. There's a church. It's like, how does this town have so few people and there's literally like 7 churches here?
Yeah.
And
Dude, there's more than that in the town. For sure, more than 7 in the town I went to.
Yeah, and you're thinking, there's not enough people to fill this up.
Yeah.
But anyhow, there's like a core childhood memory where we were at they try to hook you with the Wednesday night youth church thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? You're like, hey, and in middle school and high school, you're like, well, that's where my friends are going. Let's go.
Dude.
And they're like, hey, we got music and we've got pizza. So you're like, church is fun, right? And that's how they're luring you in. That's a sales pitch, right?
Are you religious in any way?
No.
Okay,
I mean,
I
I don't go as far to go like there's no God. So I would be leaning more towards, agnostic, I guess, of like, I'm open to things. I love studying, things about the actual universe and space exploration. Dude. I love, and those things to me, it's like, hey, look, I've kind of landed in this zone where, do I think there's some old white guy with a fluffy beard running the show?
Yeah.
I don't really think so.
No.
But the universe is just crazy enough that there is like a 0.01% chance that could be true, or the Muslim religion could be true, and all these things that I think are ridiculous and stupid. It could all be 100% true. There's a fraction of a percentage somewhere. So I try not to get too cynical, and I just stay out of it. It's like, I don't want to hear a word about your religious beliefs, and I won't be cynical about them.
Yeah.
I'll just go politely, just be, hey, that's not really for me. But I do, I think the part that makes me think about it all is you do hope that if you're a good person in this world, there's some benefit to that. You just hope that you can't be this terrible CEO of a company who rips all these people off. And I'm not saying all CEOs are like that. I'm saying the worst, but the worst examples, you know what I mean? It's like, we live in a world where companies don't value like giving people pensions anymore for these, and it's like some douchebag will wrap up this new like, hey, we restructured your PTO and you're gonna love it. And really, when you do the actual math, it's like, dude, you took like 10 hours away from me this year. My
I could
PTO.
talk for hours about that.
So it's like the type of person who can't humanize all these people, and the type of person, maybe they don't get punished, right? Maybe whoever's running this show doesn't punish people. But it would be nice if the person who runs the company who's like, you know what? These people work really hard. They all deserve bonuses. And like, I'm going to see what I can do to improve this healthcare plan. I want my company to be the best one to work at. And, like somebody who strives to do that, it's like, hopefully there is some, even if it's not religious, like hopefully there's some cosmic reward. If it's reincarnation, maybe you come back as that dog that has the best dog life ever, or so you just want there to be some kind of like karma balance. And so that part, I always just keep an open mind of like, I just don't, because, back to the church thing, like the Wednesday night stuff, it's like you hear the ludicrous man-made side of it where the youth person who's a nice guy, he's just extremely religious. He was a good guy. And, but at the time, like as it always is, abortion was a hot topic, and they're trying to talk to youth kids about like abstinence and things like that. So they were going into
everyone I know that's had an abortion is a Christian.
Yeah, well, because you're taught abstinence.
Not every one of them,
which is
I need more than 2 hands to count all of them.
Well, his whole thing, I remember where I was like, whoa, I'm not into this anymore. Was they were talking about abortion and how there's no reason abortion would ever be right. So he brought it up himself. It's like, even if someone was raped, it's hard to fathom, but it's a gift from God, and you should accept that gift. And it's like that was like as a late middle school mind, I was thinking, that's weird. And I don't even know a lot about sex or life or anything at this point. I was like,
I still don't.
It's like, and so that was a very big turning point of like, I think a lot of this is bullshit.
Yeah. And
from there, through high school, like you saw the phoniness where like the worst kids you knew were the biggest Bible thumpers.
Yeah.
And not all of them. There were some.
I know what you mean.
Gosh, it's like I remember a few people who were true, good fucking people.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember this dude's name. I think it's Nathan, but I can't. What?
The guy, I was about to share a story. 2 brothers. One is a very giant, he's the biggest Bible thumper, nicest guy. His brother's name's Nathan. In no way, shape, or form. It's like 2 sides of a coin.
The Nathan I remembered, he was this quiet dude. He seemed like he was extremely religious, but he kept himself. And there was one of those bullying moments in, I went to school in like late 90s, early 2000s. There was like bullying, hazing. And especially in these small towns, it's like there was some kid who was more poor.
Yeah.
he had some hygiene issues,
Sure.
probably because he's poor. And
Sure.
it's that embarrassment of like, I don't want to shower after athletics.
Yeah.
And so these guys were doing a thing of, we're going to dump a shitload of water on you, you know, because you're
Jesus.
stinky and like that kind of, it's
Yeah.
bad. It's
Yeah,
bad.
Yeah, we had that too.
But you know, that's just the reality of like locker rooms back then and mean things that would happen.
Yeah.
And I remember that dude, Nathan, he was almost like a character in a movie because he was very fit. He was always an athletic guy. I mean, like, he's that dude where, like, he popped off his shirt and he's like, this is before CrossFit and shit was big.
Yeah.
And the dude's rocking like a 6-pack and he's
Yeah.
got real muscles. When you're a
Man,
kid,
fuck
you don't.
that guy. Yeah.
But he kept to himself and, like, he didn't do anything. He just sat down next to this kid who was his friend and he's just like quiet. He's like, don't pour any of that water on him. And they were all just kind of like, no, man, you know, where he's like, just don't do it. And he just sat there, just stone cold quiet. He didn't threaten anyone. It's like it was like his turn the cheek silence. But it's like we'd never seen him be aggressive towards anyone.
Yeah.
Period.
I wish I was that cool.
But and the thing was he wasn't a cool guy. There was just something about that calm. It's like that kind of religious person where it's like,
Are you sure he was religious?
fairly positive.
Yeah.
Fairly positive. It's been so long ago, but I remember that being like a religious kind person, you know. But there was this intensity there where you're like, I've never seen him throw a punch, but I think he's going to find, like, maybe he's just going to pin these people down or something.
Yeah.
But
Man, now I wish I could see this.
but
now.
everybody backed off. It was like a little scene in a movie. And it's like, man, that's what the core of religion is supposed to be. It's like this dude stuck up for this person.
Yeah.
Who was going through this thing. There was no drama. Nobody got messed up. It was just like this silent strength, you know. And there was never even a conversation about it later. Him and his buddy got up and left, and that was
What
it.
grade were you all in?
It was high school, so I had to be 10th grade, so they were
Yeah.
probably 10th or 11th grade.
I
It's in that scenario where like if it was a jerk that was
Yeah.
sitting down in his buddy, that would have been a locker room fight.
That's also a very like adult way of, because as a kid I'm thinking, okay, we gotta really rough these guys up.
Something's got to happen.
I would have never said anything at that time. But
Maybe that's what freaked us out because as kids that was so mature,
Yeah.
and we had never had a mature bone in our body yet. you
Yeah,
know? You know?
yeah.
So maybe that did feel like shit. We're dealing with like an adult right now. I think.
yeah, that's wild.
But I was walking my dog just thinking about the other day about like, man, how did that dude have that in his mind? Because now with a kid, you're thinking, how do I raise him? If he wants to be religious, he can be religious.
Sure.
But I'm not going to raise him blind or
Yeah,
I'm not
I have
gonna
no
push him.
issue if
But
somebody's
I
religious.
want him to have that kind of moral compass.
Yeah.
Whether it's religion or something else. So when you meet those really good people in those small towns, you're like, damn, that religion shit. If that's what it does,
Don't
that's
you want to
good.
tell those people, if you get out of this town, you could be like, you could do an amazing. Not that you can't there.
Yeah,
like,
but maybe they're so happy there. Maybe it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
maybe.
Maybe they're thinking if you left that town, you'd be happy.
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I think at some point I might move back to a small town, but probably not until I'm much older.
Yeah,
I like
thought
living.
about that
I like
too.
living in Dallas. I like the city.
yeah.
I like.
No, I do too.
Even though there's
I
problems.
mean, I live in Arlington, but whatever.
I mean, Arlington's a bigger city now.
Yeah.
All of the DFW metroplex
It's
is
nice
packed.
not to walk out of your house and I mean, I know my neighbors, but like I don't know anyone at Walmart.
Yeah.
I have never in my life ran into anyone I know, and I've been here now for a little under 10 years. I've never walked into any store, and one time I saw a bartender at a Target, but that was it. I've never in the town I'm from. If you go anywhere, you're seeing 9 people you know.
It was definitely that. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah.
And everyone votes the same way.
Sure.
And it's like if you never get out of that, we would still be in caves. We wouldn't have houses.
I think it might be small
That makes sense in my
Texas
head.
towns.
Yeah, I've never been.
I think if you're in a small, like if you're I don't know, I've never lived there. But like our town was a more poor town. We had a gas station, a feed store. We had a pizza place that cooked other food called Pizza Getty that everybody worked at. Like if you were in high school, you worked at there.
That
at some
sounds
point.
like Fairfield. We had a Pizza Hut.
Yeah. And then next door to that, like just a little bit over, was like the bar in town, which was called Boot and Saddle. And it's literally like maybe once every 2 years, there would be like a helicopter that landed there and took somebody to the hospital because somebody got the shit kicked out of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, we had
like a rough, like, it was one of those where like, if you're cool, it's probably a cool bar. If you're liked by locals, it's probably a fun spot and it's probably really civil. But, I don't know who was getting their ass kicked up there. If it was
Yeah.
just the loudmouth that night, or if it was somebody rolling through town.
Did y'all
or-
have a VFW?
No, not that big.
Oh, well, we had a VFW in a bar called DNR, which is I never realized until I moved. It's Do Not Necessitate.
Yeah.
I never put that together. I thought that
kind
was
of a cool bar name.
It wasn't a cool bar though. It was the shittiest, smokiest thing you've ever walked into.
Uh-huh.
But we would go all the time.
Well, yeah.
They knew my drink at one point.
But isn't there something great about those bars too? That's what I'm saying. It's like now
I
with,
do miss it,
now with more
honestly.
maturity.
Yeah.
I wonder to myself, it's like, man, I wonder if the Boot and Saddle would be a kind of kick-ass bar at this age to go get a beer.
Man, yeah, that's actually there is something to romanticize about sitting in a dingy bar and
Yeah.
getting shit-faced and talking to the guy with his name on his T-shirt. You know,
Mhm.
That-
Well, just down the street from here, there's like a local hole in the wall that's so good I hate even talking about it on here.
Really?
And it's that way. It's shitty. It's got old, terrible wood paneling. It's
Yeah.
got booths that aren't even that comfortable anymore.
I don't want
But they got-
attractive girls to be in the bar that I'm.
Well, yeah, that's
I want them to be hot in there, but when you walk out,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, that's not an attractive person.
yeah, but some of those small well, I guess that's it, right? It's like if you're going to be in a small town, are you the person who's doing clean living and living a good life, or are you the person who's going to the small town bar there till 2 a.m.,
There's no reason to be clean in a small town. What are you gonna do?
But there's those people, man. They just live
I mean, that's not true.
a calm
but yeah.
life, and they're good people. So I don't know. I do think I'm going to be happier raising my son in the city because I want him to be exposed to a lot more than I was.
Yeah.
And then if he decides to go live in a small town or something, good for you.
I know people in their 40s who can't fathom. I don't want to be too obvious who it is, but it's like they can't fathom what the world has in it.
Yeah.
It's like I know people who don't understand. I mean, like gay people. They're like, why would you ever be gay? I'm like,
Well, do you?
leave that town.
Okay, small town Texas.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were growing up, the first time you really saw like a gay person? And that was like a ooh.
Yeah. I mean, in high school, we
You
had
know,
a guy.
now-
It was obvious.
Well, I don't think-
When I like when
no,
I,
I mean like like the first time I guess maybe as an adult where it wasn't somebody you knew, right?
Oh yeah.
You-
Oh my God,
when
I
you're
do.
Like,
I
whoa.
was
or like did you go to a gay bar for the first time ever or something? Where it's like culture shock.
I've been to a
from
gay
your-
bar multiple. I don't know, like 3 times.
Yeah.
I saw 2 guys holding hands in a mall,
Mhm.
and they kissed, and I'm like, "What do they do?" I'm like,
And
"They're
that's-
gay."
Yeah, but that
It
sounds
took
so.
me a second
But that sounds
to-
so crazy now, and it's hard for some people to fathom that. Like, hey, in 1999 in my small town, it's like
Yeah.
if you were gay, you were fucking quiet about it.
Yeah,
And so when you did, I guess for me, I don't know when that experience would have been. I'm trying to think, but anyway, it probably would have been when I started waiting tables in Plano, Texas, at Chili's. It's like that was like
Oh, that's hilarious.
a bigger city
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
time, and working in in the service industry, it's like you're going to bars with other service industry people, and then there's a variety of people. So all of a sudden,
yeah.
you're seeing different personalities and things, and it hits you with a culture shock for a moment, and then you're like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool. But like you said, there are people who've never had that moment. It's
Yeah.
like that is only something you saw on social media
Yeah.
or something you saw on a TV show, but you haven't seen it in person. And it's still really weird for them. And that's crazy to think that in 2025, somebody could be that sheltered still.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think it makes you bad or good.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
interesting that, your life, you might be in a scenario where you don't run across that still.
I saw someone the other day. I was young when I realized my dad was a moron. I was like, when I realized he didn't know everything. When I realized oh, this man lies about a lot of things. I remember I was in Miss Swan's class. I was in 2nd grade. He came to school to do what the fuck they do. And she's like, your dad is the sweetest person. And I'm like, no, he's not. I didn't say that, but I was like, he lies and he hits my mom. And all this. I was like, oh, he's a bullshitter is what he is. I saw someone in their 40s realize their dad was a moron. He's like, they're like, he doesn't know anything. I'm like, I've never seen someone break like that.
Yeah.
That is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's brutal because
Yeah.
when you're young, you think adults are smart.
Yeah.
And then as you get older, you realize stupid people, if they don't want to change, they just remain stupid people.
Yeah.
And they just get older. It sounds terrible, but it's the same reason, like, I don't fawn over, like, elderly people in the sense of, they all deserve your respect. It's like, I'm going to
Yeah.
give them the same respect I would give any stranger.
Yeah.
But Grammy over here, she might be a piece of shit.
Dude.
She might have been a piece of shit her whole life.
Yeah.
You see these videos of like old women screaming when there's like a black guy in the park, being like, he's raping me.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? And it's like, you look like an old, nice woman, but you've probably done that before in your life, when you were younger. And like somebody might have paid the price for that if that's something. Maybe you're just senile, but they seemed pretty with it. And just other weird things like anything related to politics where you see older people on both sides acting crazy.
Insane.
Acting crazy. And you're thinking, oh, you were a piece of shit when you were younger. I don't care if it's liberal or conservative, like that. Those extreme ends. It's like when you see, someone in their 60s keying someone's car over political beliefs. It's like, oh, you suck. You suck.
I feel like I'm on the fence with both.
And I said elderly in 60s. I shouldn't say that, but you know what I mean.
Dude, I know, the closer, you just realize Jamie, I'm not going to butcher it, but Jamie Gravy, part of Coldplay too, has a joke about when you're young, you don't realize you're going to die. And like right now, we're just guys. We're not old. We're just guys. But we're thinking about, I'm going to die. I'm butchering this fucking joke, but I'm like, God, that is such a, you realize, death is coming.
It's on the money.
Death is coming. It's just, and you don't think about that when you're a kid, but I don't know how I got on that subject. We're talking about how shitty old people
just
were.
Talking about just getting older in general, but...
my brain is going to shit already.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know. I cannot keep a thought in my fucking brain.
I feel like every time I talk to you, you say these things, but you carry conversations just fine.
Yeah, but
I think you're in your head about it.
They're all over the place.
That's okay.
They're all... None of it makes sense.
He's not even my preferred president, but Trump's that way too. He weaves. He brags about weaving like that.
He lies about weaving like that.
And he became president.
By the way, I don't care who you voted for.
Yeah.
But...
I think you and me are on the system of like, I'm not going to butcher you about who you voted for because the whole fucking system's fucked right now.
Yeah, and people have reasons they voted for.
It's fine.
So,
it's fine.
Yeah.
I can understand why someone liked Trump, and I can understand why someone liked Kamala, even though I don't care for either of them. You know what I mean? I can see why you would like it, and I can respect your view.
But it's every... I'm saying it's like it's a fucking truth, whatever. This is all made up bullshit. Well, this is just my thoughts. I forgot my train of thought. To say I'm voting for this guy because he knows exactly what he's doing. It's like anyone that takes that job is fucking insane. But anyone to vote for that because you believe it. Also, it's like they say he's a Christian, he's Republican. He's none of those fucking things. He's none of those made up fucking things. He fucks strippers.
Yeah,
and which is fine to do, but don't say you're a thing. that you're clearly not.
We'd all like him more if you just said...
If
he was just real about it, I would like him more. But also I know, it's like, you did this because you knew the religious vote would make you win.
Yeah.
And you're smart to do that.
There's an interview with him.
But the religious people who vote don't understand he's playing you. And it's like, hey, I don't care that you want to vote for a religious candidate, but you should find one that's religious, I guess.
Yeah.
And
don't just... dude, there's a video of Trump. Somebody's asking him, because I'm not, it's not verbatim what he said, but somebody's asking him about scripture. He couldn't quote any of it. The next interview he did, verbatim said it. I'm like, someone told him to say that.
We all know.
Yeah.
We all know. I do.
Fuck both sides. I'm just, they're both annoying.
Well, he came in and blew up the Republican Party, and whether people like it or not, like, it's kind of good that he exposed just how bullshit that system was on that side.
I don't also understand enough to be talking about the way.
Well, what I mean is, when he ran that first time, we had our there was another Bush running, Jeb Bush, right?
Yeah.
And then there was,
I know
else?
the name.
Cruz. There's these political families that were putting their, and you just stay in this same, this family and these people or friends.
Yeah.
We're getting the same type of person,
Yeah.
And so I do like the fact that I still to this day think he ran just to improve his brand. He's going to sell hats and T-shirts and
don't you think
get back on top.
Kids,
huh?
Don't you think he fucked kids, though? You know what I'm saying.
When you look at a person who needs power and wealth, and
I'm talking about the Epstein thing.
It doesn't look good, does it?
Yeah.
Doesn't look good. And, you ever have a group of friends that... Or not a group of friends, but you were in the comedy world. Mm-hmm. There's people where you get a vibe and they're like, hey, we're going to go to a party. And you're like, cool, man. Not me.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Y'all aren't bad.
I don't like any of them.
Y'all aren't bad people to me.
I'm trash too, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, y'all aren't bad people to me, but I feel like I'm going to get in a situation that I don't even want to be in.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to steer clear. It's
Yeah.
like, it's cool. You do your thing. You do your thing.
I mean,
know?
I don't really go to comedy clubs anymore
So,
because of that.
I feel like
Very
in those
rarely.
circles, you would hear rumors of that weird shit going on.
Yeah.
Why would you ever be a part?
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you see people like I love when Seinfeld tells people he's not going to hug them. Like, did you ever see that great clip when Kesha tries to hug him?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, no, thank you. No, thanks.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I don't need a picture of me hugging every
Yeah.
single person who. That's some, you know, I don't want something to look like we're friends. I love how Keanu Reeves doesn't like put his hands
Yeah.
on people in pictures. It's like I think it's fine to have some boundaries.
Yeah.
You know. So, you know, it's like we're gonna find out with the P Diddy stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna find out all these people. It's like, hey, y'all had to have heard rumors about these weird fucking parties.
Oh, dude.
Why would you go? Like, was it worth it to be in the scene or whatever? I don't know any
Yeah.
of the details, but you would have to hear that there was weird shit going on and go, nah, I'm good. The
Yeah.
fame or whatever is not worth it.
I would hope so. I would hope I would say that.
Well,
as-
being
as-
sober, you definitely would, because a party's not going to sound that interesting to you.
Yeah, and I'm not that horny of a guy.
I mean, you know, like I phased out of wanting to do that in my mid-20s.
Yeah,
you start
yeah.
to you start to see the lame bullshit.
Yeah.
That like, oh, going to what's the local places here? You know, going to Addison, going to like Sherlock's. That's not even there anymore, probably. But
I've been there, but I don't know.
it's
if
just
there
just
anymore.
one of these like huge bars where there's like,
Yeah.
this floor has a bar, that
Smoky
floor
and
has a
shit,
bar.
yeah.
You know, you walk down 5 steps to another little area of the room. Yeah, it's Addison is still smoking, which is kind of crazy,
That's-
right?
Yeah, there's restaurants you can smoke. And also, if a restaurant has a smoking section, the whole fucking thing is a smoking section. You
Well-
can smell it no matter where you're at.
Well, when I worked at that Chili's in Plano, it was when the whole non-smoking thing was starting. So when I first started there was a smoking section, and I worked there through the transition of it. And
That's crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. It's a weird part of life.
Did y'all fight to not work in the smoking section?
No, those were the weird things. I wanted to work in the smoking section. The smoking section was in the bar area, and you made more money over
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Those people were more likely to drink beers and tip
Oh,
bigger,
yeah.
and that was, you know, if you're drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette, watching a game,
Yeah.
and you're there for, you know, 3 hours, you're getting a couple beers, you're getting a burger,
Yeah.
maybe you get an appetizer later, and it's like your tab's going to run up, and you're
Yeah.
going to feel pretty good. You know, your team won or something, it's like you're going to throw down, you know, 30, 40% because
Oh,
you're having a
yeah.
good time. And those people might be people who, you know, like they're less likely to have the spouse who's like, "Where the fuck are you?"
Yeah.
They're people who are
they're
like,
probably shit-faced with them.
yeah, or maybe they just decided like, I don't want a spouse, and I
Yeah.
like having
Hell
my
yeah.
I like having my my own income with no dependence, and I can come to the bar and run up $100 bar tab, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
ain't a thing, you know.
Yeah.
People like that, and God, I had this one woman. She was pretty incredible. She'd sit in the corner of my bar, back by the wall. She got off her shift at Red Lobster. She was a service industry woman. She
That's
took
hilarious.
she took a cab to work and home. This is before Uber, right? So she took like and she knew the cab person every day that she worked. It was the same cab driver. They had an arrangement probably, and certain amount they just paid like a fixed amount.
Yeah.
She would drink Rumplemints. Do you remember that?
I've
one
heard
of the
someone say that
minty
before.
liqueurs. I can't even remember what it's called now, but you know, it's along the lines of like Goldschlager or something.
Yeah.
And she would sit down. She would drink like 3 rocks glasses full, you know, just while she's waiting on her cab. Just get hammered, leave, and it's like it was guaranteed going to be like a $20 tip.
Jesus.
You know, and it was just simple. I can't remember her name, but she'd just be like, "Hey, Rita,
Now
how you doing?"
thinking about that,
Yeah.
Rita, obviously her
It'd
name's
be
Rita.
something like that. Yeah.
Smokes those skinny cigarettes.
Drinking, smoking, hopping in the cab, see you tomorrow. No problem. So it's like she was my favorite because, you know, she'd sit down, not a word spoken, good shift.
That's nice.
Shift was good. Right
Yeah.
on. I'll get you another one in a minute. So the smoking part didn't even bother me because you're thinking, I'm making
smoke,
money.
or did
No,
you?
never smoked. But it was like when Plano started going non-smoking as
Mm-hmm.
the city, because it wasn't Chili's that did it, it was the city. People were like, I will never come back to this establishment.
That's
like
so
they
funny.
they were going to die on that hill. And then all the other cities went non-smoking.
It's
and
crazy
then they
that
came
was
back.
ever a thing
Smoking.
in restaurants. Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
You know, people who like.
Because I think they attempted to keep it a smoking section because you could buy this like multi-$1,000 air system that would ventilate it out. But, you know, who's going to... I mean, literally at that time, it probably would have been like $50,000, $60,000 for this thing
I
or
don't
something.
think those things work that well.
Well, I think that was the end thing is like people who...
Casinos have them.
Well, I think people who bought those ended up being forced to go non-smoking anyway. because it was like a city thing.
Wow.
Right? Because I don't think there's anywhere in Plano you can smoke in a
Addison
bar.
has to be the only place.
It's a whole bar industry. But isn't Addison weird, too, in the sense that, were you ever a server? Did you ever do any work like that?
When I was in culinary school, I worked in the restaurant there, but we drank the whole time.
Okay, but, there's these rules with TABC,
Yeah.
right, where you can only serve people a certain amount at a bar.
Yeah.
Legally, right? So the legal, I don't remember anymore. It's probably been changed a little, so somebody can correct me. But at the time when I was there, it was either a 12 or a 16-ounce drink, like a beer, was one drink, and a mixed drink, like a Jack and Coke, was one drink.
Who's keeping up with it, though?
The bartender keeps up with that.
Oh, dude, that'd be hard.
Yeah, well, and so they're legally only allowed to have one drink per hour. It was something weird like that. Or maybe you can have like two in the first hour, and then we got to taper off to one drink an hour. The only reason we were ever strict on it, any reason, was when I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings in Carrollton, across the street from the big mega church, which was always hilarious.
What church is that?
I just remember the names. We called it the Baptidome and Six Flags Over Jesus, and it was it's a huge Prestonwood Baptist Church. It's in Carrollton off of like Hebron Road.
Sure, I've heard of it.
It's West Plano, West Plano, Carrollton area. But anyway, one of the other Buffalo Wild Wings had a horrific thing happen where a regular got too drunk, got in an accident on the drive home, died. Right?
Yeah.
We all know the story. But Buffalo Wild Wings is going to get run through the ringer extra hard because it was a minor.
Oh,
and
wow.
the rumor I heard, the alleged rumor, I wasn't in the lawyer meetings, right? I'm just a server, was that this was somebody who was using a fake ID. So like TABC laws at the time, anytime you sit down to drink, if I've been serving you for 10 years, I'm technically supposed to make sure you got your ID on you. You have to have a valid ID to drink, right? Can't be expired. It's got to be all up to date. And so you're technically supposed to check that every single time you sit down at the bar. This kid, the story I heard was he was underage, was using a fake ID, but he was like a chill underage. Like he'd sit down, have a couple beers, watch a game, go. And I think that happened a couple times. So the bartender's like, oh, it's, John.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man. You drinking a Shiner still? And I guess that night he drank too much. So you can go to jail for getting someone drunk. You're not supposed to do that as a bartender. It's illegal to get somebody drunk.
Really?
Crazy, right? At the time, maybe rules have changed. And then you can't serve it for somebody without an ID. So the whole place, there was going to be this massive lawsuit. The family's going to be suing people, all this stuff. So we tightened up on all the TABC rules at all locations. And we were losing regulars because you're sitting there trying to watch a football game, and I'm like, I can't give you another beer for like 35 minutes.
That's crazy.
Right? But all that to say, I've never understood how places like Addison, Texas, Deep Ellum never get cracked down on. I don't necessarily think they need to, but it's like,
I do.
You go to those bars,
Yeah.
everyone's hammered.
Dude, I think about that every
hammered,
time.
hammered. How many bars down Beltline Road in Addison, and that's that's really the heartbeat of that city, right? And I've never heard about, TABC did a raid and did this or that. It's like,
it's money, though. That's got to be
that's what I'm saying. It's like I've always wondered, are bars in the city, are they all just greasing the wheel under the table?
Did you see that idiot talking about that old guy? I don't remember his name. He was talking about why weed should be banned in Texas.
Is that Dan Patrick?
Yes.
The THC stuff they were trying to do?
And he's saying how it kills people. I'm like,
right.
That guy drinks for sure. I'm making that up. I don't know. But I'm like,
well, you know what
kills so many people.
He reminds us of those public religious figures in our small towns who...
Yeah, that's exactly
maybe he's a great guy behind the doors. I don't know. But he
it.
feels like one of those who's a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
I don't know him, but he feels that way. My radar goes off as like, oh, you're that hypocrite one in my town that I grew up in. But I mean... how Uber improved it all, right? But before Uber, it's like when we were just driving to the bars, it's like we were all getting hammered,
dude,
and going places. And it's like, how was that never cracked down on?
I've never understood, and I mean, this is like everyone says this, I think, but you're allowed to just go get shit-faced in a bar and then go drive.
Yeah.
You're allowed to go drive. We used to do it all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Or, well,
Did you ever see the old clips of people in the 70s or 80s when they finally made drunk driving illegal?
Yeah.
And they're like, I think a man working a 12-hour shift ought to be able to crack open a beer on the drive home. And you're like, man, I hear you. I hear you. And like, truthfully, maybe it's just my ego, but it's like, I could have a beer on the drive home. It ain't going to affect shit.
Yeah.
But we all know it's really the person who's drinking 12 beers on their shift before they get in their car.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But yeah, I mean, it's wild. I've just always wondered how like party cities, party towns, there's never just like a massive cleanup on that. And clearly it's like there's got to be some money moving.
It's got to be money.
Right?
That's billions of dollars. I did hear, I didn't read it.
Yeah.
Drinking has gone down substantially. You know what I'm trying to say.
Substantially, yeah.
That
I mean, they say that with younger generations.
yeah, but it's like it was at like 14 billion or something like that. And I'm making up these numbers. Now it's down to 2 is what like $2 billion is what people are spending on it now.
I mean, I would bet that like overall budgets are probably tighter for the average person. So that's something you're giving up.
Probably, but people smoke weed now.
Yeah, but that's a better deal, isn't it? Like
I think so.
If I think financially that's probably more affordable. And then, if I wasn't in a career, and I've said this like to my bosses, they know. It's like if I wasn't in a career where I could be randomly drug tested at any time, it's like that would be my every evening routine.
That's also a crazy thing. Doctors can go get shit-faced.
Yeah, you can go drink as much as you want the night before, and you can show up hungover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know why? And I don't know where I read this or saw this. Do you know why weed's illegal?
You talking about like
When it started?
Yeah, like back in the day when it's the paper mill
I think
guy.
it's the 40s is
Yeah.
when this started.
I think it's William
newspaper,
Randolph Hearst.
But they said it. Look this up. I might be.
No, you're right. Keep going.
No. But
I've read about this multiple times. I'll
they
check
said
if
it
gets
makes
off.
Hispanic men rape white women.
Yeah. So
Am I wrong on that?
no. So originally people were calling this, words like cannabis.
Yeah.
Part of the reason marijuana has been popularized is because back then that was one of the smear campaigns. So the most consistent story that I've read or heard, everybody could be making up bullshit, right?
Sure.
But the most consistent thing is that this person had an interest in paper mills. Like I don't know if he's printing books or newspapers or what, but paper being made from, woods. And cannabis was going to be this thing that could create paper that was not only cheaper and more renewable, but more durable.
Really?
Yeah, that like this piece of paper wouldn't tear like the piece of paper.
Yeah.
And they were making things like I remember seeing a video of a car fender that was made out of I guess it's not cannabis, it's hemp, right?
Yeah.
And the hemp was like they're banging the fender with hammers and it's not really denting.
Really?
Yeah. And clothes, textiles, all these things. I mean, all of this stuff. It's weed is the most accurate term because it's this thing that just grows incredibly quick, right? And there's all these uses for it.
I've never thought until you just said that.
Yeah.
Why is it called that?
Grows like a weed.
That-
It's a weed. It is a
That
weed.
is insane.
It'll take over. And so anyway, this guy, I think his business was threatened, and that was part of his propaganda was that we're going to call it marijuana, and we are going to tell these stories that like when people smoke this, they become, because I think what was happening is Hispanic workers, I guess, that were crossing the border. It's like, yeah, they're getting high after work or something, and nobody's really bothered by it. Nothing's happening. They're chilling out. We all know what weed actually does now, right? And but yeah, they ran stories that you're going to get in these frenzies that these Mexicans are raping women, white women.
I
specifically.
knew I read that. I've told people
100% of thing.
Yeah.
And then the other part was the movie Reefer Madness. This was in the 1920s because I think that's when that movie came out. Did you ever hear about Reefer Madness?
I've heard the movie. I've never seen it.
So it was a propaganda film.
Or I've heard the word. I don't know if I knew that was a movie.
It's a propaganda film. It's black and white, and these people are like smoking, and like this dude's like, if I remember correctly, he's like frantically playing the piano in like a drugged daze, like, almost like if somebody did like way too much cocaine mixed with booze and they're just in this fever dream of whatever. And like people are like throwing themselves out of windows and they'll like rape each other or something. It's like all this stuff that
That's so
obviously we
crazy.
know it doesn't do. But what's crazier is that we know all of that, and you still have people who, I guess, like our generation, it was probably because of I think the next person was Nancy Reagan. Say no to drugs, dare.
Dare, yeah.
Right? That was her thing. And so, again, we grew up in small towns, right? We had the dare assemblies and your churches and everything. Hey, just no alcohol, no drugs.
I
stay
remember
away from
hearing
all of it.
Don't smoke weed.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing about heroin or anything like that.
I guess it was probably implied when you're young, you know?
Yeah. I was in I've never done anything with a needle or powder.
Yeah.
But
That's
I've done everything else. But never once did I want to kill anyone.
Right.
Or myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just like, I'm 40. I'm stressed about life, like wife, kid, career, ambitious goals with podcasting and recording things, the stuff I want to, you go home and you're stressed.
Yeah.
To be able to just, smoke a little weed and chill out. It's like, how many people would be off blood pressure medication if they could find a way to relax a little bit? And I'm not saying it's the right answer for everyone.
Yeah.
Because through, people love to talk shit on Rogan, but he had this guy on there who brought up this great, he wrote this book called Teach Your Children. Mm-hmm. It's about not using marijuana heavily until your brain is fully developed. So literally like maybe get through your mid-20s before you consider really using this.
I didn't touch it until I was 30.
I think that's the way to do it.
I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think mature, when you're physically mature.
Yeah.
Because what they're saying, and I had firsthand experience with this with a relative had a, I don't want to give away names because they're good people, and so I don't want to disparage them. I don't even know what's happening to them this day, but I had a relative, very close relative. The person they were dating, they had a history of mental illness in their family, and like serious, institutionalized mental illness, and they were fine. But whenever this person and my relative were dating, they were using, I think, weed and mushrooms heavily at that point, and they would have been in their early 20s, and that triggered a mental break, schizophrenic episodes.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And so that's what this book was about. It's had some people, not everyone, because we like to go like, oh, there's no side effects to marijuana, to weed, right?
Oh, there is.
But yeah, it's like, hey, it's just like anything, you can abuse anything, right?
Yeah.
There's people who can drink alcohol and there's people who can't, right?
Yeah.
And marijuana is the same way. But that's kind of the only like huge thing we've seen where it's like, okay, you might be a loser and waste your life, but that's kind of your choice.
Yeah.
And you might do that with alcohol, whatever. You might do that with sugar. Like I might just eat cake every day and fuck my shit up,
Yeah.
But I think educating it that way, it's like that's really the only major side. Everything else, it's like the amount of people who could calm down, wind down.
Yeah.
The cancer fighting stuff should really be studied.
That's what when
should
my mom
really
was
be
going
studied.
through chemo, she couldn't eat, and I was giving her like really strong gummies.
Yeah.
And she was chilled. Like she's like, my stomach doesn't hurt right now.
But I think there's legitimate, I don't know if it's THC or what, but there's something that actually will fight cancer cells to a point, but we don't have a lot of great research on that.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, well, we should really be exploring that. But again, your pharmaceutical industries probably don't want that.
Yeah.
And then because of the way America's kind of been raised with religion and conservative parts of religion, which went to like no drinking, no drugs, we still have, do you think Governor Greg Abbott here in Texas cares at all about weed?
No.
Or do you think he would make as much money as he could off taxing that?
Yeah, that's
it's only because of his Bible-thumping religious base that he can't change that opinion.
Who was it? Him who was on the thing? He's like, I don't believe any book I read unless it's the Bible. Is that who said that?
I'm sure he could say something.
I
like
get all
that.
those white guys mixed up, but there's such just a stigmatism on it. Is all. I remember until I was in my 30s, I'm like, this isn't bad at all.
Yeah,
it's just people make it seem like it's this horrible thing, but they should talk to kids in school to not drink.
Yeah, well,
I can't tell you how many stupid things I wouldn't have done if I never drank.
Let me ask you this, though, because of your history and your perspective on alcohol, right, of like going through your phase of drinking, being sober. This is where I feel the most liberal is with the drug thing, right? Because it's like, and by the way, people think I'm just conservative now. It's like what was considered a liberal in 2000 is now considered I'm very conservative and have like outdated
views. I think
views.
Everyone's on the fence about it.
Yeah,
because there's both things on both sides.
But
like, all right,
but I'm very liberal, and I'm very much like, do what you want to do that makes you happy, so long as it's not making other people miserable.
Yeah.
And some people, if you're miserable, it's like, well, whatever, get over it. But but I mean, like, if you're not hurting someone's home or you know what I'm saying. We could get too deep into that, but I have gotten to the point because I was thinking about the gun argument where I'm not a big gun person or anything.
Yeah.
But I'm realistic. I don't think we're getting guns out of this country ever.
No.
And I think you got to find smart ways to handle it. Where people who want guns can have them. There's a bunch of responsible people with them, and then we got some psychos that we need to figure out how to keep them from ever getting them. And I was thinking about that thought process of like, even if you make guns illegal, like you're never going to get rid of them. And it's like, that's true. And I feel that way about alcohol, right? Prohibition didn't work. We ran that experiment. But we think that if we ban, we know prohibition on alcohol didn't work, but we think if we ban guns, that will work. And it's like, nope.
Yeah. That's going to make me want to go buy one.
History's, and me too. It's like, if I heard you were banning guns, it's probably making me more likely to want to go get some guns.
Yeah.
Having the guns readily available makes me think, if I need one, I'll go get one. But I don't need one right now.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about drugs, which is crazy to say.
No,
But it's like, man, I think we need to have places this is a wild statement, but I think we need to have places that sell heroin. I think we need to have places that sell cocaine.
In other countries, isn't that a thing?
I don't know. I mean, probably somewhere. But the point being is you got to regulate it. You got to make it safe. But then you have to do heavy education to children and teenagers and college students about the pros and cons of like, hey, there are some people that do cocaine, but buddy, you're risking it.
I feel like
there are some people that do. I mean, because
weed has benefits.
It does, but
I don't know anything about
even
cocaine,
with that, even with that, you could do too much all the time.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It's like, hey man, I think maybe you need to get out of the house and go get some shit done, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the worst thing. It's like, oh, the biggest side effect is you're going to waste your life sometimes. Well, you were probably going to do that, but it's kind of how we talked about a lot of those religious people are the ones who have the abortions and the teen pregnancies.
Yeah.
Well, because abstinence. Only education doesn't work. You need to teach
everyone wants to be a fucking white knight until it's your turn to get a fucking blowjob, And I mean, in any aspect of life, you could use that. But like all the people I know that got abortions, it's like, I know you thumped this fucking book to people until you needed one.
Yeah,
until
and then you
rationalized
it and kept it a secret.
Yeah, and then you're like, can you not do that with other people? Just think about not you, obviously, but like, you know what I'm saying? It blows my fucking mind.
Somebody around here, I wish I could remember which local comic. I'm really sorry. Maybe you'll remember, but somebody has that great bit about Governor Abbott because he's very pro-life. Mm-hmm. And
you go get a fucking hooker pregnant. You think you're gonna keep that, dude?
Well, he's famously in a wheelchair because a tree fell on him, and they were like, you would think of all people he would understand that accidents happen. And I'm so sorry, whoever that comic is.
I haven't heard that,
but it's just a great sometimes shit goes sideways, and this should all be dealt with case by case by case. And then I like Bill Burr's stance of like, hey, you're killing a baby, You should be allowed to.
Yeah.
But let's be real. And
I also see it that way.
Yeah. I mean, you should have the right because it's your body, but let's not pretend like nothing's going on.
Yeah.
Because I think what you could do, like, okay, truthfully, if you wanted to say no abortions ever, okay, which I disagree with, but if you wanted to do that, the way you make that happen is by having the most comprehensive sex education program in the world with as many different routes of access to contraception as you can provide.
Yeah.
Right? And then at that point, which still you got to have case by case for things like rape and incest and all the weird people. But if we're just talking about consensual sex, at that point, you can look at a person and be like, we give all the contraception out for free. We did 6 years of sex ed while you were in middle school and high school or whatever. You guys knew.
Yeah.
But
sometimes I do want to ask people, how a baby gets here, right?
No, the scary part is, and I'll go into depth off the mic, but I've had several experiences where I've talked to people and they do not know. They will be late 20s, early 30s adults who do not really have a grasp of like semen, contributes the sperm, and this is how a baby, like just that basic thing of like, if that gets in there, like that could be you could have a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's hilarious.
There are people who just don't know that.
I don't know how sex ed is now, but when I was in sixth grade is when they taught it to us. They taught the boys,
me too. Okay, yeah.
The girl and male, the female and male version of how sex works. The girls, they only let them see the girl version because they said, from what I remember, they told it we don't want to show the girls what a penis looks like just yet. I'm like,
I remember this because there was a thing where they rounded up all the girls one day to talk about those subjects.
Yeah.
We didn't know it at the time, but we were like, what the hell? How come it's only like boys at recess or whatever we were doing, And you're so like, you're trying to look in the windows of the classroom and they got it covered up with stuff. And so all day you're like, what were y'all doing? And they're like, we're not talking about it,
Yeah.
And then finally one of them cracked, and they were like, she opened up her bag, and she's like, they're talking to us about periods and tampons.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that was the beginning of sex ed for them, I think, was, first they're going to talk about that, and then it moved it. But if you went to school in a small town in high school like I did, we had our high school football coach was teaching sex ed, who's
that's what ours was.
wildly uncomfortable with the subject, and who's just like, you just cut it out.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Was yours real fat too?
Oh yeah, we had a pot-bellied football coach
I can't
teaching
remember
the
his
subject.
name. I would say it if I could, but yeah.
This guy was this was in middle school. This guy was like a hard-nosed ex-military, no nonsense. And it's like, that's the guy you're going to try to talk to the kids about the nuances
I'm like, we're
of.
going to talk about vaginas.
Yeah, imagine that guy trying to talk to you about like STDs.
Yeah.
What?
That's what. Yeah, that's so funny.
That guy's
I
never
can't remember
taken
his name.
It's like that guy's never taken a risk in his life. He doesn't.
We say they were old. I bet that was a 30-year-old teaching that fucking class. Do you ever think about that?
Well, especially when you see the people in the 70s, where it'd be like, yeah, these 19-year-olds at the beach, and you're like, they look like they're 35 because they lived a different by 19, they were already like owning a home and had a job.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's stress. It's stress.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, why? It's got to be stress.
Yeah. They were living in the
I'm
real
stressed now,
by 16 or 17, they were deciding like, am I going to finish high school or am I going to get that factory job, make some money? Like
God,
in the
so
70s,
funny.
you really had that thought of, a good buddy of mine in high school, his dad owned some tire shops, and it was that way. It's like at 17 or 18, he was like chopping a bunch of firewood while he was working at this tire shop to save the money to buy the business. And then he started running the tire shop in his.
Is it still there?
Oh yeah, they've got one in Mesquite, and they've got one out in the small town I grew up in. They opened up another one. It was wildly successful because it's that generation that was like.
We had a really successful tire guy in our town too, Eddie's.
Well, those are guys that I don't know that you could do it now. I think if you're established, you can do it. I don't know how hard it is now, but they don't compete with like Discount Tire because they're the guys that's like, no, we're going to get you down here in 20 minutes because we want to make more money.
Yeah.
There's only 2 bays or whatever. We got to get you in and out.
Every small town is the exact same.
Yeah, but no, that dude, that was like that work hard. That's why I hate when people say like boomers didn't work for their shit.
Yeah,
it's like no, a lot of them did.
Yeah,
they might have had a couple advantages we don't have for sure. But to say that this guy who worked at a tire shop from the time he was a teenager to still working there now.
But there's also
it's
other
open,
things.
It's open 6 days a week, You
don't have to work that hard anymore. Every generation, and I mean, I'll say it too, some old guy said, every generation thinks they're the first ones to fucking suck.
Yeah.
I don't remember who said that, but I'm like, God, that's true.
No, it's true, man. Like I'm a millennial. The only generation I don't shit on is Gen X. I feel like
I don't even know which is which.
Gen X is just older than us. So you're talking about people who were. What year did you graduate high school?
07.
07? Yeah. So.
God, that made me feel old saying that.
So it would have been the people in high school when you were like late elementary, early middle school. So these were people who witnessed Nirvana when it was happening.
Oh yeah, that
when it like that generation of people.
It's crazy to think that was a thing, that somebody heard that for the first time.
Yeah, as a new album.
Yeah.
Right. So they were experiencing those types of things. They didn't have cell phones. They had pagers.
Yeah.
You probably never saw a pager in high school.
My sister's, now husband had one.
Yeah, and
I used to think it was cool.
They were the last group of like feral outdoor kids. Millennials, we were a mixed bag. Some of us were like outdoor latchkeys.
That's what I was.
Yeah, but some of us weren't. You know, that's when a little bit of like helicoptering parenting started.
Yeah, I didn't have that at all.
Yeah, well, we're on the older end of the millennials, right? And so we still had I didn't get a cell phone until I was 16, and
I was 18 when I could buy it myself.
And it was the Nokia brick phone, and so I didn't have a smartphone until I was in my 20s.
Yeah, same. And
so
I thought it was so fucking cool.
Yeah, so we're the last generation of people that had the freedom of like, man, we could just go to a field party in high school, no phones.
Yeah.
Drink
I didn't
beer.
have a cell phone when I was doing that kind of thing.
That's what I'm saying. And you were just risking it.
One friend had one.
Dude, like nowadays, it's like there's no drop a pin, I'll meet you there. It was like, oh yeah, you got to go down County Road 962 to
Sometimes
this.
we didn't even show up.
Yeah, it's like you might not find it. But that was freedom.
Yeah.
And boomers had their version of that. people before them had their version of that. Gen Z is going to have their version, and whatever version after them,
Yeah.
And it's all the same shit. But I do agree that unless we have a massive world war or something, including my generation, every generation does get like weaker and whinier and bitchier.
Isn't there a war going on now?
Yeah, but it's not like World War I or II where you were in a trench shooting at people, Americans. I should say Americans.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what deployment is like these days.
Yeah.
I think it was probably scary post 9/11. That was probably scary wartime if you're a military person, but I think now a lot of it, aren't they like sending planes and shit, just bombing stuff?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm too big of a pussy to.
I mean, we're definitely probably on the verge of something, but I don't know. My whole life we've been on the verge of World War III. Like every 5 years, I've heard that that's going to happen.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
Yeah. Now the worry's kind of gone,
dude.
How old is when does the draft stop? How old?
I don't know.
I've been watching Band of Brothers. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
They're older than me in that show, I think. So I'm like, fuck, I could still be drafted.
I will say this: if it comes to the point where they have a draft, they're going to raise the age and they're going to include women.
I was telling somebody at work, that woman, a girl I work with, the chick, whatever, she was saying, I'm going to have to go. I said, y'all get drafted now.
It'll happen.
I think.
Well, I remember...
If not, I'll just say I'm trained.
I remember they talked about it at one point in my lifetime, and they got a lot of pushback. People were like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But if it were truly, World War III with Iran, Russia, China...
I honestly don't even understand what we're fighting about, to be honest.
I don't know.
I don't know if and I don't even know who we're at war
Whatever
with.
I think I know is probably the propaganda that they've given me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What my heart believes is that you've got multiple groups of people. Again, this is probably just because I was raised in a small town, and it's just a chip on my shoulder about organized religion in general.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Israel, Palestine.
Yeah.
We have two prideful groups that believe their version of that religion is the perfect version, and these other people need to concede and conform, and each one thinks they're the one, and they're, now...
That's what blows my mind.
We can argue about the back and forth, like,
Yeah.
this group never should have done that, this group never... Yeah, but you know what? You're both acting like assholes all the time. Your governments, at least. I don't know about all the people, obviously, but same thing with Iran. It's like, hey... That was a more westernized country. I don't know if all the people in Iran want it to be more westernized, but I know y'all seemed, if I'm not being fed government propaganda my whole life to make you look this way, if it's accurate, you seem like you went way too conservative with your religion, and you're a bunch of dicks now,
dude.
And so to me, one of my biggest things is people who are just harping on the most conservative form of whatever religion they believe in, the most conservative and oppressive form, no matter what your culture is. There's probably some really extremely conservative Buddhist version that I've never heard of that's like, we throw people off roofs. And it's like, that's wild.
That's a real thing, though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So to me, it's like, hey, all this shit, it's all about y'all's religious and cultural hang-ups. And I don't know how y'all fix that, but y'all must have some oil or shit, and that's the only reason we're dealing with it.
And you do. And people, you know anything about Scientology?
Yeah, I've watched a big documentary on it.
Okay.
Yeah. I watched on HBO has a great one called Going Clear.
Yes.
Did you watch that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Scientology is somewhat new. It started in the 50s or 60s, right?
L. Ron Hubbard. Yep.
And look, and I'm not saying I'm right about this. 2,000 years ago, you don't think there could have been a bearded guy saying, hey, this happened? You have to follow what I'm saying or you're going to burn in hell or whatever. Scientology in 2,000 years is going to be that.
100%.
I really believe
because
that.
we're not going to be here to go, no, I remember when it started.
It said it. Does it? That's what I'm saying, dude.
Hopefully they see the South Park episode where they break it all down.
Do you know that's exactly what they believe?
I know. Well, because you remember in the South Park episode, they have flashing. This is actually what they believe.
Yes.
Like, we are not making this up.
But if you just take time to think about that, I feel like people judge me whenever I say I don't believe in God. It doesn't make sense.
That's
I would
fine.
be lying if I said I did.
Well, I think if you're a good religious person of any religion, you would be able to.
The Jesus writings in the Bible is a good way to live.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is, I think if you're a devout whatever follower
Yeah.
of a good religion, whatever that means to you, you would understand why anyone would question it,
Yeah.
and you would be like, hey, we get it, man. If you ever have questions, we're here.
Yeah.
We're not here to force anything on you. And you would understand, like, it all seems pretty wild. Because, as wild as religion seems, I love reading all these things about the universe, space, and all the and when you find out that not only do they believe that this universe is potentially infinite,
I just tweeted that.
Yeah,
today.
but that we're somehow also surrounded by. We're also living in a multiverse where there are an infinite number of infinite universes.
Yeah.
And then I watched some other weird documentary about how there's not one form of infinity, there's multiple versions of infinity. And it's like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I'm going to have to go back to school to get a physics degree just so I can understand my hobby better.
How I understand that is like, why didn't I get the good version of me in whatever?
Well, our current understanding of the universe would be that if it is infinite, there's every possible version of you that has had every possible version of life. So there's one of them where you've won the lottery 3 times. There's another one where you were a pedophile.
My mind always goes to that oh man, I bet in my other life I got to fuck that chick.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's then
in one life, it was the worst possible disaster you could ever think of.
I'm Brad Pitt, and like Brad Pitt's
what they're saying is
Brad Pitt still looks like Brad Pitt, but I'm the hot, you know what I'm saying?
Mathematically, from what my hobby has shown me, is or from what smarter people have told me in this hobby, is that, that's all there. So to me, it's like to go like, hey, this person who's the all creator, blah, 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 it's like, no way that's ever possible. It's like, yeah, but it also seems to be just as unlikely that there's a version of me that was Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. That seems pretty wild too.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more likely that we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And 1,000 years from now, we're going to have a better understanding of both things, hopefully. But that's the only reason I lean more towards the science is good scientist, right? And I feel like astronomy and those fields are less tainted than other fields. But, it's very much like, hey, we thought this. We've got new news that says that may not be true.
I think people are embarrassed to say that.
Well, I think religious people are.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think they want to accept that, like, hey, that book that was written thousands of years ago, if that's when it was written, probably came from verbal stories. So it was a big game of telephone, and then it's been translated. And then there were churches like the Catholic Church who wanted to manipulate it to control people.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't believe that. It's like, you think
Have you seen The Vatican Girl?
No, I need to watch that.
It's the most depressing fucking thing.
But I was going to say, like, you're telling me, like, all these people were like, oh, we're going to get a new pope. And it's like, so another new person to reshuffle the pedophiles? Why am I excited about that?
There's a video.
And that's not me.
Dude.
That's not me, like, alleging. It's like they have moved around people that are pedophiles, and they're safe because they can't extradite from...
And do you know what they say?
What?
It's because you ever think something, you're like, God, this is too crazy to be true. I had to make this up. The disciples moved in the Bible places, so that's why they say they moved popes.
Oh, sure.
But it's because they're
we
dodging charges.
Yeah. I mean, a colleague of mine had some kids that were going to a Catholic school, and he's like, sometimes I worry if, like, like, do you think there's a risk that they could be, like, molested?
Really?
And I was like, you're taking them to the Catholic Church? Yeah. I was like, the one that's been molesting them? Yeah.
I've had friends that have
probably a risk, man. Yeah. I don't know about your church specifically, but it's been a lot of them.
It's so crazy that, dude, I don't know.
It's the same reason. It's like, hey, more muggings happen. Like, if we're going to Deep Ellum, there are the well-lit parking lots in the busy areas.
You'll get mugged there, too.
Well, but I'm just saying, you're more likely to get mugged in the dark alley where not a lot of people... It's like, so I avoid those spots.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I can probably park there and not get mugged.
Yeah.
But why am I risking that?
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
And that's how I feel about, like, the Catholic Church with this whole pedophile thing. It's like, you can probably put a kid in there. Most of the time, it's probably going to be fine. But boy...
You got 10 kids, one of them is going to get
boy, they've
touched.
done a lot of molesting there, haven't they?
Somewhere in and this isn't verbatim because I don't read it, but somewhere in there it said you used to be able to own slaves.
Probably, but
that's
and that's the other thing too. It's like, hey,
but that was in the Old Testament.
But all of that stuff was written by people that
own slaves.
Well, and in a lot of aspects, we would view them as we know a lot more now than what they would have.
Yeah.
So the goal would always be to, like, if I met someone 3,000 years from now and they were trying to live exactly like we do now, I would think you were insane. It's like, we thought y'all would have had, wands that you wave over and it cures, all your ailments. And we thought you would have progressed to this, like, incredible civil. What do you mean you're trying to live like 2025?
That's so.
What are you talking about?
Hilarious. Yeah.
Like, we wanted a lot of these problems fixed, It's like you can argue about climate change, but we would all love to have zero pollution.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody would like no pollution. That sounds great. And so if they were just like, well, we run businesses now the way we did them in 2025 because that's what we were founded on. It's like, whoa.
There's so many outdated things that, I mean, in my opinion, like a president. It's like, can we give that up? It's like there's so many things that are so outdated.
That one's wild, though. I don't know what you do because you'd like to think.
I don't either.
You'd like to think you could have like these.
I don't have solutions for these problems that I'm saying.
But it is weird, right?
Yeah,
it's a popularity contest for the most powerful.
It's crazy that it's so crazy that you're a human that lives on this earth, and I don't even know how to word this properly, but like I've thought about this since I've started working. You pay us like shit.
Yeah.
Do you not worry about how we're eating, paying our bills?
Nope.
Is that not crazy?
I think
Why is that allowed?
I think there's a couple good companies that do that. Here in Texas, it's like it seems I
work with people that live on credit cards.
Yeah.
Live off credit cards.
I mean, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And that's like a multifaceted problem. Like on one end, companies are terrible. On another end, we don't teach anyone proper spending habits in this country, right? There's this just generations, my generation included, of people where when you're going through high school, there's no talk about finances.
No.
There's no talk about how credit could help you and how credit can hurt you, you know? And
I don't remember anything.
Nothing. You have to hope that you have family members who are good with money to teach you about how to be good with money. I
didn't start reading until I was in my 30s. I mean, I could read, but I didn't try. I would have to think about how to divide something right now, to be honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's part of a problem, so when you hear about a good company, like here in Texas, I think a good company, which is one I haven't worked at, would be like Buc-ee's. Yeah. You see that they pay higher wages for unskilled jobs. You could, if you had no formal education, you could go clean their bathrooms, and I think they're paying $20 an hour.
Yeah, it's something like that.
And it's like, that sounds crazy. Like $20 an hour to clean. It's like, hey, don't get mad that person is making $20 an hour. They're still scrubbing down toilets that people are taking road trip dumps in every day.
Yeah.
Be mad that these other jobs are not valuing those employees.
Yeah.
But because I went looking through their website one day. I was just cruising jobs. I don't want the jobs. I'm just I think they have.
I could work at Buc-ee's if I had to.
Well, first of all, I'm not above anything.
I didn't. That's not what I meant. Yeah.
No, I mean, but what I liked that I was reading on their website is it seemed that they would offer. If you wanted to work there while you were going to college, you could, right? But if you didn't want to go to college and you wanted to climb the ladder of Buc-ee's,
you can make well over $100,000.
There were ways to do that. And then I noticed they had positions that were really interesting, like car wash manager.
Really?
You could manage the car.
Crazy.
You could manage the car wash at Buc-ee's. They did require some sort of like a bachelor's degree, which sounds wild, but for a fucking car wash. Well, but anyway, they required that, and but you could also start as like an assistant manager in the car wash. But I think the manager one that I looked at was like $120,000 a year.
That's crazy.
But is it? That's what America should be like, right?
No, I agree.
Because you could, $120,000 a year at that company, but if your boss is coming around and the car wash is fucked, they can go, "Hey man, we pay you $120,000 a year
but if
to
you're
work at a
being
car
paid
wash."
That's
what I'm saying. On the flip side, you're going to go, "Hey, I don't know where else I'm going to make this money just running a car wash, and I don't want to start my own, like, you could start your own detail business and make that money, but that's a lot of
work.
A lot of grinding. If you just wanted to punch in and do a job, that's great money.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got paid time off. I think they run
Imagine working there with your high school buddies. That would be fun.
And what I remember reading on their website too is they don't franchise. And I think that's a big part of it. And I don't believe they're a public company. They're not traded.
Oh, wow.
So I think the key to getting America to be like stronger again is to, over decades, move back to more private business. Where if you're Mr. or Mrs. Buc-ee, you can go, "I don't like how this shit's running. Let's change it." You don't have to talk to a board. You don't have to talk to shareholders.
Yeah.
If you are...
Oh, wow. I never thought about that.
Yeah, because it's you legally, if you're running a company that's traded on the stock market, you are legally required to attempt to make your stockholders as much money as possible. You have to do it. If you don't do it,
Wow.
you can get in legal trouble. You can go to jail.
Wow, that all just made sense
Right?
in my head just now.
Yeah. So if Buc-ee's went public, right, and there's only a maximum amount of money that gas station could ever make. If the pump was filled 24 hours a day, every time a car shifted out, a new nozzle was put in, there was no downtime, there's a maximum amount of profit that could be made, right? If you just had the treats being handed off the truck, the food and stuff, instantly sold, you still have a maximum amount of bodies you can move through that building, right? So inevitably, when these people, these shareholders and stuff, and the board or whoever, when they set a goal of like, we need to increase our profits by 10% again this year, or whatever arbitrary number, you're going to go through several years of that, and then you're going to max out. We're running at 100% efficiency. We can't make any more money. So the next move is cuts. Well, we're not going to pay that guy $20 to clean the bathroom. We got to knock that shit down to 15. You know what? Actually, we don't need bathroom attendants anymore. We just need the cashiers to go in there and check on that shit.
Yeah, then you turn into QT.
Right. And because they were great. They were doing all that shit.
Yes.
They were the Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
They're slipping now. And, so the point being is like, inevitably you reach this point where you can no longer have quality because the only way you can make more money is through cuts. And then you have people who they've never worked in those stores that are calling the shots, and they have zero imagination. They're just dull corporate drones who have never ever thought of anything creative in their entire fucking life.
Yeah.
They went to some bullshit MBA thing where they learned all these, hey, when we're struggling with this part of the business, we need to hold some meetings, send some emails, get an action plan together, implement that over the next 8 weeks, and then reconvene to see how that was. It's like all the da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
When like, if you're just running the small business, it's like, hey, we've noticed every single time the 7 o'clock shift starts, this thing's all fucked.
Yeah.
We got to talk to them now and fix that. Where are they at? Let me go talk to them real quick. And then it gets fixed. And if it doesn't, it's like, hey, we talked to you about this like 3 or 4 times already. We got to let you go. Sorry. That's it. Whereas corporate America, it's like, you can have a terrible worker work at a place for 20 years.
Yeah.
Because there's so many ways you can't fire them. And so then
I worked at the city and I should have been fired so many fucking times.
What are all those tropes about like government jobs of like government work, the post office, the DMV, right? And so what happens, right, is if you are a good worker, if you're a hard worker and you care about what you do, you're forever jaded because the shit workers never get what's coming to them either. They never get fired. They never get disciplined, and they're dragging you down. And so a lot of these businesses, if they were run in an ethical way by the owners to start with, you could cut 10% of your staff and it wouldn't matter as long as you cut the right 10%.
Yeah.
And then you could give that money to your hard workers and they go, fuck yeah, I'm going to keep working my ass off for this place.
Yeah.
Companies used to have pensions instead of 401ks, so like you could work for a company, you could get vested in the pension, and then when you retired, you got paid. It wasn't a 401k that you contributed to the way we do now where it just
and
goes
they're
in the
trying to
stock market.
stop weed and
Right.
And that's what they're doing.
It's just greed, And so I love Bill Burr's thoughts on it all the time because he talks about how we're always fighting about abortion, immigration, blah, 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 blah. And really, these super, super wealthy people are constantly fucking you.
Yeah.
That's why no one was upset that some people were upset. Yeah. When a CEO gets shot, we're like,
what's so
probably
crazy
had it coming, right? I knew nothing about the guy.
Yeah.
Knew nothing about the guy. I saw the footage of him being snuck up on from behind.
Goddamn right he got shot.
And my first thought was like,
people
is this
say, and there's
there's
a million ways to go at this, and this is just my stupid opinion. People say he had a wife and kid. It's so fucked up. Whatever he was doing. And this is a far stretch. Bin Laden had a wife and kids.
Yeah.
And that guy is praised for killing that guy.
Right.
He's still, and he's in an interview recently where he's talking about how he killed people. He's like, I don't even know who that was. Why did I do that? But that guy's praised for what he did. That guy, it's like, it's crazy they locked that kid up.
It's sad.
I get it.
Yeah. Well, you can't murder people. And it's sad.
He killed a murderer, though.
I don't know. I don't know that I feel bad for the wife because you can't be that delusional to think like, I don't really know where the money comes from.
Yeah.
I do feel bad for your child. Because even if you're a piece of shit dad, it's like, it's still your dad. and he's not old enough to, and it's still
At some point, it's going to click in his head what his dad
I know,
was doing.
but it's like that's
Yeah.
not.
No, I know.
If I came up to you before it clicked for you and was like, "Well, your dad's a piece of shit,"
I know.
you would have been heartbroken.
Yeah.
Even though you don't really want to deal with him now, like you would have been. Oh my God, that's my dad. That's my daddy.
I know.
So from that sense, but also, we should have government that goes after this bullshit.
But now they're
all
Luigi. But now because of Luigi, people are stepping in.
What do you mean?
There was I have a friend that works somewhere.
I'm going to look something up while you're talking. I'm not ignoring you, but it's about this.
I have a friend that works somewhere. The CEO of their company came to them and said, "Hey, we have to look at this stuff more serious." And if I'm not mistaken, I mean, I'm not a fan of the guy, but who has the raspy voice? What's his name?
RFK?
He is saying that and this is just what I read.
Yeah.
That at some point they're not going to be able to deny you any kind of insurance thing. But it's that Luigi did that.
Right. So here's where it gets fucked, though. I haven't read the full articles, so please,
Dude, at any fact I'm telling you, it's 30% red.
But have you heard of BlackRock, this big corporation that just buys shit up?
Buys all the houses.
Yeah, so they're somehow part of United Healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess United Healthcare did start maybe backing off some of their tactics. Because, if you're going to have a surgery, right, and they can delay you.
Yeah, until you die.
You might die.
Yeah.
You might decide I don't want to go through with it. There are tactics to where it's like if we can delay, there's a higher percentage that you may not go through with it.
Yeah.
Allegedly, right? And so those are their tactics, right? And I think those tactics and others slowed down after the Luigi thing.
Yeah.
And so they weren't doing all the steps they would have normally done because the headlines I've seen is that BlackRock, who I guess is probably an investor in United Healthcare, and remember, you have a duty to your shareholders to maximize profits for their benefit. So you have a duty to BlackRock to make sure they can be paid as much as possible.
That is so crazy.
If I'm understanding that correctly, if you're a finance major, please correct me in the comments.
Yeah.
But so they are suing United Healthcare for not basically
I read that.
The headline way is that they are suing United Healthcare for giving patients too much care. Now that's the headline thing, but what it really is you didn't use all your tactics to maximize profit, so we can now sue you for the profit that we should have had. How is that legal in this fucking country is the problem, right? Healthcare is not free, and I understand that, right? But when you have large healthcare organizations who own multiple hospitals, and hospitals are on the stock market, you can buy stock in healthcare, which is insane.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So some hospitals are owned by companies that are publicly traded, and they have a responsibility to the shareholders. So when you need your fucking gallbladder out, are they giving you the best care, or are they giving you the care that is good enough, and that meets the minimum standards so that we can maximize profits this year? There are CEOs of healthcare systems that are over multiple hospitals that make like $30 million a year. Okay.
Yeah.
Who have mission statements about we want to care for the community at all cost or something, right? And it's like at all cost or a little bit of that money. Now and this isn't every hospital. I'm just saying you can go research what hospitals
it's all of them.
are publicly traded, and you can figure this out, and you can look up all of their earnings. It's all public. So you factor that in, right? It's like, and then you factor in all the insurance companies. Okay, yeah, I know you got overhead. I know it takes money to pay the people to make sure this stuff's legit, because you also don't want a surgeon to just frivolously operate on everyone. So you do need a company to check and be like, did we need this surgery? Or, before we pay you, is this legitimate? But when you find out they're making billions of dollars of profit, it's like, well, okay, I know healthcare's not free, but if we just said this company has to stay in charge, but there is no more profit.
Yeah.
The profit goes, if we have profit, it all goes back, it's all redistributed back out to your clients.
Yeah.
And same way with hospitals. If you should be able to put some away for a rainy day, like when COVID hit, if you were worried we can't buy supplies anymore or something. There should be a fund that you have for that, or a little rainy day fund, but there should never be profit.
Yeah.
Your profit should go back out, it should go, hey, when you broke your leg and we fixed you, We found out we overcharged you. Here's a check for $2,000. And people would go, all right. And that would be the first step of getting it to where it is completely paid for. But I just believe, I know you can run these numbers any way you want to make it seem like it could never be done. But I think if you had intelligent, creative people saying, I think if we took all the profit from every insurance company, from every major hospital, all the profit, if we went and looked at all the people in administration who have bloated salaries and have bonuses that you shouldn't make off of trying to better the community, we could probably get this thing incredibly affordable. And we could probably get the majority of Americans' health care, you know? But, you know, and the other argument would be, well, if you don't pay your doctors, you know, you're never going to have good doctors. All right, that's a real fear.
Yeah,
but
it's all made up, though.
But if we don't force them into massive amounts of debt through schools, which are also kind of a racket right now if you want to get an education, you know, if they can come out with no debt and they got a free education because they held minimum standards, you know, requirements of like, hey, if you want the government to pay for this, you've got to be top tier if you want to be a surgeon or whatever it is, right? And then when you go to practice, if you don't have all this debt, and like you said, it's not all like you don't have this insurance company who's putting these, you know, or these hospital systems and these insurance companies putting these bloated prices on things, doesn't it all become more affordable? And then when it's more affordable, you're telling me we can't find a doc, like let's say a successful surgeon of some kind makes multiple millions of dollars, right? And they deserve it. You know, they went to school, they learned something. I want them to be rewarded.
Yeah.
But let's say you made $1 million a year, right?
Yeah.
Which is just a made up number. If you didn't have that debt over your head,
Isn't that like $90,000 a month or something crazy like that?
if you didn't have that over your head, the debt, wouldn't there still be a lot of people who would go into that field for the fulfillment of helping their community, who would also be like, you know, I make $400,000 a year.
Yeah, which is outrageous.
I'm making
still.
a great living.
Yeah.
I'm helping people. We've got a successful practice. Like, I think you would get different people in the field, and it would be the right people who are making significant money, but they don't need the greed of it all.
Yeah.
Right? Because you should make significant money if you have a skill that's helping all those people. But, you know, do you want a doctor who's driving, you know...
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Like that.
Yeah. Do you want the guy who really needs the Lamborghini? Or do you want the straight-laced guy who's like, I bought a reliable Lexus?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's still a nice luxury vehicle,
Yeah.
but it makes sense, you know? It's like, I knew a guy who was a very successful surgeon, and he drove like a Volkswagen Passat.
Yeah.
And he had money, and it's like, that's the guy you want.
Yeah.
The one who could get it but doesn't, because it's, you know, I don't need a flashy surgeon. I need a competent one, you know, but I don't know. I don't know how you fix all that.
I mean, it's all, I don't know the comic who said this. Everything is made up. It's all made up shit. Every time I come across his clip, I share it. It's all made up. Mm-hmm. Everything, it's like, he says the stock market, he's like, oh, it's down. Say it's not. Just say it's not. It's like money's inflated. Say it isn't. It just, I know a person.
Yeah, they're the systems we created.
Yeah, I know a person, and I won't say where he works, but his almost sole purpose of his whole job, he works at a doctor's office. People bring in their receipts or whatever. I don't know what is going. And they're like, I went in for, someone had an ankle surgery, and they said, they're giving me medicine for anxiety. I don't have anxiety. And it was costing them people like $500. He has to call and be like, hey, this shouldn't be on here. And he's saving these people thousands of dollars sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's just like criminal shit like that they're putting in. He came in for ankle surgery, and they're giving anxiety meds.
Right.
Just so because they can charge it.
Yep.
That is so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to ban marijuana. That is so that's fucked. That's
I'm with
insane.
you, man. I'm with you. Well, look, dude, I've taken up a bunch of your time. I appreciate you coming in. But I'm psyched about the cooking show, man.
Man, we talked a while. No,
Yeah.
I am too.
I am. I'm just like, I remember texting you. I was like, dude, I'm so happy you're back in a creative lane.
It feels good to put my thoughts somewhere.
You're good
too.
at this stuff, and I always liked your take when you're doing comedy. I always liked the jokes I did here. It's like I liked your style. I was bummed when you stepped out of it, and I feel like you're able to get back in it a little bit with this.
I
too.
still write stuff down, but I don't.
I think you're going to jump back in. We don't have to get into it, but
Yeah.
point being, I'm just
I don't
happy.
think
I'm just happy that I think you're a clever guy. So when I see that you have a creative outlet, I get kind of pumped about it. So I'm very excited to see where it goes.
I appreciate you watching it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how hard it is to edit stuff.
Well, I just started with the clips, and I was like, is he just making? At first, I thought, you know, because I don't know John very well. Is he officially like your producer? How does this work with y'all?
I don't know. I couldn't do it without the guy.
I don't know him.
Yeah.
I've seen him around a lot.
Him and Jamie are funny.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Yeah.
the thing is, but I've never caught them. Like I've been trying to watch Coldplay, Coldplay 2.
They're coming. They're coming. Somewhere Gretchen's doing a thing with them.
Yeah, and but I just haven't been able to. I've seen John do like a variety show before, but I haven't got to really. I don't really. Truthfully, I like him, but I fear him a little bit because I don't understand him. Like I don't know what he is or what he does, but I've just seen that he's been in the comedy community doing stuff. So it's like, all right, it seems like a productive person that likes comedy and likes producing things or something. I don't know.
He really likes he likes skits and
perfect.
Yeah,
Love
he
it.
likes recording shit.
And then I know Jamie's funny and that he's worked wasn't he opening up for Eric Griffin for a long time, I think.
Eddie Griffin
said, thank you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, you got to be funny to do that.
Yeah.
And anyway, staples of the local comedy scene. So when I saw you putting out those clips, I was like, wait a second. Are they doing like joke clips? Like, is this all made up? And then when I saw you had long videos, I was like, oh, he's really doing a show. I was like, I love this.
A few people asked me, like, are you just making clips with it? I'm like, no, it just takes me a while to get it out. But I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're doing everything right, man. Keep doing it. And it's like, I wouldn't even stress like where it should go or what. It's just do what you feel.
I have 39
fun.
subscribers right now on YouTube. So
there we go, man.
Clinton's Kitchen is what it is. Yeah.
Clinton's Kitchen.
Hold on, you brought up specials, and then we can into others.
Okay.
Comedy specials are fucking boring, in my opinion. Bill Burr's last one.
What do you want to see in them? What makes them more interesting for you?
And it's just, if you saw, because an hour of comedy is fucking dreadful. In my, even the best comedy, you can see it. It's not, it's like, I get it, right? You sat through an hour of shit comedy, right? If you had somebody tell a joke, for maybe like a 5-minute, 10-minute bit, and then you saw like a clip of them going to the town they're going to, or a hobby that they're into, or just something about their life, and then back to another joke, and then like 30 minutes of joke, 30 minutes of whatever.
Yeah.
That would be that would be more bearable than an actual hour of comedy.
I'll tell you what a goal of mine is, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to achieve it yet. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
And Lawrence's was a first step, and I learned a lot of lessons on that. I'm very happy with Lawrence's, but I read an article where someone was saying the exact same thing. They were saying, and now that we can all release it on YouTube, it's even more.
No one wants to hear my opinion for an hour.
This article was released before we could just dump everything on the internet like we can now. And they were saying how comedy specials are so boring. It's the same, like, okay, we're going to do a couple like weird shots of the club and people walking in, and then we're going to do this grand entrance of like, look at you coming out on this big stage and all these people came to see you. You must be famous, And then you do your jokes on this whatever setting, and then we have another weird closing where and so with Lawrence's, we talked a lot about kind of the feel of his act that he was going to record, and my thought process is like, well, I really want to make a real intro where we're kind of setting the scene. So the scene is a lot of his material was about how he was a methed out loser.
I haven't seen it.
That's fine.
Yeah,
but I don't know if you remember his backstory, but like got horribly addicted to meth.
Yeah.
He burned a lot of bridges in this town. He ruined his marriage, and it was a bad portion of his life. He got over it, I'm sure he's still working on things, but he at least got, off of meth. And when his marriage was having his troubles, they also found out they were having a kid. So I think him having a kid in his life is really giving him a purpose to change.
What is the word? Not respect. I mean, it's respectful, but that can't be easy to do. Is what I'm trying to say.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't know all the details about his upbringing, but the little bit I know, it's like rough start. Had a rough start to this world, and again, it's like you're as good as the people who showed you how to be, and those people are only as good as the people who showed them.
Yeah,
and so I think
that's true.
I think he's trying to break this cycle. I think his dad wasn't really around. He wants to be the dad that's around now.
Yeah.
And he's doing those things. But
yeah.
Point being, when we had these conversations, now that he's on the better side, and he's like, I want to record this material and get it behind me. He's like, I'm not even that person anymore.
Oh, wow.
I want to close it out. I'm working on new material. That's done. So I was like, great, man, let's do it. And the overall feel was like, like he feels like a loser essentially for that whole chapter of his life. And so the intro, we kind of shot it that way, where it's not some fun like, all right, are you ready to see some comedy? You know, the song is like a very losery song, and not in like a funny, ironic way, in like a serious way, to try to set that tone. And so that's been kind of my goal, is like, can I, like that article wrote, are there ways to make it a little more cinematic, where it's not just, okay, lights on, comedy, go.
Yeah.
I think there are people who can do that really well. Like if I wanted to go watch Daniel Tosh, that's probably the perfect setting for that. But you're talking about high caliber professionalism, professional comic, right? There's only a few people where you can go, I don't care what, just turn it on and I'm good for an hour, Most people aren't there.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be a comic for 25, 30 years.
And also, that's just my opinion.
Sure. But no, I agree with you. A lot of it drags on. A lot of the bits are tired.
Did you watch Burr's new special?
Not yet. Mm-mm.
In the beginning, he's talking about life stuff and whatever. And I enjoyed the whole thing, but I'm like, man, if he could have, talked, then said the jokes, then talked, then said the jokes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like interview style. I think it would be easy to watch
there's a female comic, Esther Pavitsky. Have you ever heard of her?
Yeah.
Look up her specials. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but she had one on Netflix that was done kind of like that, where her parents were involved.
Oh, that's right. Maybe that's why I subconsciously got that idea.
The reason it stuck with me was because, a lot of people will record over like 3 or 4 nights, and then they splice them all together, which I kind of don't like that. I know the pros do it, but to me, I think, give me the seamless... But anyway, I noticed that they were different nights because she wore different clothes. So one of her jokes, of her jokes, she'd be in different clothes, but she'd finish that joke, and then her and her parents would be going to dinner or something.
Yeah,
and I don't remember if they all tied into the material or if it was just ways to edit where because usually what they do, anytime they're cutting to the audience, that's like an edit.
Yeah,
right. That's where we can cut it out and bring you back in on the joke because that joke didn't land this night or whatever. But anyway, I liked it. I liked the way she did that. The one that we are going to record in December, I'm not going to say who it is yet, but I've been thinking about that. But
it's not Lawrence?
No, I think he's working on stuff now. He's probably not going to do something for another year or two, I guess. He's got to get another hour together. But I'm thinking about doing that with this person because I've seen some of the material, but I don't know if they're going to be open to it. At the end of the day, it's kind of like, here's what I'm thinking, but what do you want? It's your material. You tell me what you want.
But even if it was like whoever it is, and then a clip of this.
Yes.
And then a clip of like y'all eating at Chili's or whatever.
Yeah, I think that stuff could be fun. I think it just comes down to what the material is, who the person is, right? It's got to really vibe with them. Honestly, one of the reasons I really want to push it around here is I'm sure a lot of comics will disagree with me, but I think a lot of what's holding Dallas back is not putting pressure on the comics to raise the bar for themselves. So, when you were doing it, it's like there's people who've been doing it for 15, 20 years in this town that rely on a lot of the same act.
I mean, I was doing it. I wasn't good at it.
But you're going to open mics. You're seeing people. You're going to shows. You're hanging out with people that are doing it. You were in that scene.
Yeah.
You see people that lean on that material heavily, right? And they don't ever put it out on anything.
Yeah.
I think what separates us from like West Coast, East Coast, even Chicago is because those places have ways for you to get that material out. There's a lot of killers out there, right? So if you're going up at the Cellar in New York and all of the people that could potentially drop in there that are 20, 30-year professionals and make you look like a chump, you're going to constantly be thinking about like your A game.
Yeah.
I think somebody like Lawrence is going to benefit from putting that out, getting it behind you. I can't lean on it anymore. I got to write new stuff. And I think his new stuff's going to be way better than that. And it should be, right? So I think by forcing them to retire material when it's time to retire it would hopefully push them into, I got to write more. And then if I'm going to write, if I'm getting rid of that stuff, it's got to be for better stuff,
Yeah.
So in my perfect dream world, it's like by releasing these and giving you an outlet, maybe we in part kind of start elevating the thought process of like, no, we can release it on something here, get it out. And it better be good because so and so also released something with someone else here, and now maybe there's some good competition. So it's like I released Lawrence's, Mikey B released his himself, and his is getting more views than ours. So now there's a little competition. Like, is that because of the way he promotes, or is his material better, or are people just resonating with it more? I think that kind of competition is needed in this scene to push everybody up a little higher. You know?
Yeah.
Do you remember some of the clubs? We don't have to talk about which ones, but like some of the clubs, there's too many like pats on the back all the time. Like, that was great. You killed,
dude.
blah, 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 blah.
I'm no one, but I hate stand-up comedy now.
Well, I mean, I think it'll come around on you again, but
I mean, I don't hate it, but
I know
it's
what you mean.
just, it's like, it's all,
it's
like,
cliquish, all that bullshit. That's why I like being on the outside of it, you know, because I have talked to a few people where they wanted to kind of work together. And
most comics don't even like each other. They're all pretending to. I don't know why they're doing that. I mean,
well, because they all want to get on a show or do a thing, and blah, blah, blah. But no, I think you're right, though. I think the average comedy thing is extremely boring.
Yeah.
And that there's got to be some fun ways to do it. You're going to have to be an incredible veteran professional to just be able to lights on, murder for an hour, lights off, nothing else. And I think there are people like that, but I think a lot of the people that are putting stuff out right now that way are not at that level. And they should have gone with like a 10 or 15 minute thing.
I agree.
You know, polish up I think there's a lot of people right now who have 10 or 15 minute chunks.
I can't murder for
killer.
5 minutes. So I mean,
yeah.
But I still agree with what you're
I've
saying.
never done stand up, so I'm not pretending to be better.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But what I mean is I watch these shows where it's like,
Sure.
man, I've heard that person tell that 10 minutes
Yeah.
for like 6 years now. Like
Yeah.
that 10 minutes is ready.
Yeah.
You should put that
Or get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, put it out now. Well, how many times did you hear people using similar premises? Like the one I hate the most, can't stand, is like all of the Indian, Middle Eastern comics that talk about like I'm 7-Eleven, not 9/11.
Oh yeah.
I'm Dot, not Feather.
I mean, I'm
or,
having people's heads coming.
You know, they've all told the joke at one point or another, or a bunch of them, right? And it's like, hey, there was a time when we were extremely close to 9/11 where I bet that killed.
Yeah.
I bet that was just the most outrageous, hilarious thing we've all heard. And whoever originally did it should have recorded it then and got it out of the way so we're not all still telling it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of material now, you know, like, I'll tell you the names off the mic, but there's a lot of people now where it's like, hey, that bit is incredible, but it's got a timestamp on it.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff you're talking about is only going to be culturally relevant for maybe 5 more years. You know, are you doing like Friends jokes up here?
Yeah.
You know, you got to do that now.
Yeah.
And let's move past it. And like, if you were creative enough to write that, you're creative enough to do it again with a different thing. You're leaning on it. You know, I'm saying that as a fan. You know, it's I see new people laughing at it, but I also see over the last 2 years new people laughing not as hard as they did 2 years ago because it's becoming less relevant.
Yeah,
you know, and I think they would all benefit from finding ways to release those chunks because you do live in a time now where you need all this promo material.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than doing like lame skits that you don't want to do, it's like, why don't you just keep writing your blocks, right? While you're figuring out how to do an incredible hour. And then if that block doesn't fit in with that hour that you're doing, maybe that's the thing. It's like, hey, I'm going to release an incredible 15 minutes this year.
You enjoy comedy more than comics that I know. For real.
Well, I never want to do comedy because I don't want to get on that other side and get cynical. And
Are you trying to guess the punchline when you're at a show?
Nowadays, I can usually guess a lot of them.
Because that's all I ever do.
Nowadays, a lot of times I'll get a laugh in before the punch, you know. And it's not like, I know where they're going. It's like, I'm still very excited. I'm like, oh my God, that's where they're going. That's hilarious. Like, I still very much admire it, even if I see it coming.
I do a lot of, I know what they're, like, they're going to go this.
But then I get satisfaction. Like, if they do it, I think like, oh man, that's so cool. Like, first of all, I'm happy that I could see where it was going. But second of all, it's like, it was funny though. It was good.
Comedy is for people who do not like, I mean, you know, when you see like, I keep having to say, look, I'm shit, I'm nobody. But comedy is like when you see bad comedy and people are laughing, you're like, have you never tried to make a joke? Have you never made anyone laugh before? You think this is funny?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you laughing at? I'm embarrassed that you think this is funny.
I get it. You know, I'm definitely jaded now in that aspect.
Good.
If I go see a good Fort Worth crowd.
Yeah, I was thinking Fort Worth.
Because, and the only reason I'm saying Fort Worth is all the comics tell me like that those crowds are always incredible. They give you great laughs. They've got good attitude.
You know why?
I don't want to, I like my Fort Worth listeners. I don't want to shit on them.
Yeah.
But my point being is every now and then you'll have some hacky comic up there telling these bullshit one-liners and you're like, but they're eating it up. And the only way I've really reconciled that for myself, it's like, hey, look, for me, you know, that would have been like when I was a kid and you're watching like Blue Collar Comedy Tour and the here's your sign and all that kind of. It's like now that a lot of that would be considered hacky, but that's your entry. If that's your entry point to comedy, and then 5, 6, 7 years from now you like a little more deeper comedy, that's fine. You know, whatever. It's like my son's listening to Paw Patrol songs because of those. It's like I hope he listens to punk rock and cool music later on. It's like if I can't start him off on Marilyn Manson right now. But and that's the way I've reconciled it. It's like, hey, if they needed the cheap laugh, that's it. But in my mind, I'm thinking. To the comic, I'm thinking that's such a shit joke,
Dude,
and I'll whatever. I don't do stand up. I'm judging too hard, but
no, you're not.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm not talking about your average person trying. I'm talking about the person who's phoned it in and has the lamest jokes. But anyway, we really got to go this time.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Sorry, what was the channel one more time?
It's Clinton's Kitchen. It's
Clinton. I'm going to link it all up. Don't worry, it's all going to be linked up. But Clinton's Kitchen. And are you still doing Clinton Taylor rules on your social stuff? Yeah. Nice.
Instagram gave me that. I did not choose that. That's what they gave me because Clinton Taylor was gone, and I've never.
It's great. Keep it there, man. But yeah, dude, I'm excited to see where the rest go.
I think it's Clinton_Taylor on YouTube. Okay. Also, Clinton's Kitchen was already a thing, but the guy stopped posting, so I'm not changing the name. Like 3 years ago, he stopped, so I'm not changing the fucking name.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. Yeah.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.